Good morning. Welcome in. This update presented by AutoZone. Padres cannot secure the sweep in Toronto. They lose yesterday 4-0 on getaway day. Padres now taking on the Tigers for the next 3 games in Detroit. Team USA is going to begin their title defense in the Women's World Cup starting today when they take on Vietnam at 6 o'clock. And over in the NFL, the sale of the Washington Commanders is official. Dan Snyder making his way out. Josh Harris making his way in. With a $6.05 billion purchase, Dan Snyder fined $60 million by the NFL after that investigation. The 151st Open at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club in the UK, day 2 is underway. Brian Harman, the American, in the lead at 10 under par after he went 6 under in his round today. He's already in the clubhouse. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. So get in the zone. AutoZone and the Open Championship update is brought to you by the Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop now at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Yeah. Happy Friday to those who celebrate. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch with you on a Bar Card Friday. Whoa! Not quite there yet with the voice, but we're getting closer and closer.
We just need you for 8 o'clock.
I don't know if I can scream today.
Maybe we'll have Tony do the scream.
Maybe we'll have Tony do the scream. That's a good idea. Tony may not be in here. I think it may just be Andreas joining us in studio with Chula Vista Brewery, who, by the way, sells at keg and bottle locations. There's 10 of them around San Diego. So if you're looking for beers today, maybe spotlight Chula Vista Brewery, who has some award-winning beers that they're going to bring in studio today for all of us to enjoy and partake in. Excited for that. In fact, I was doing a sports hit on Kogo News this morning with LaDonna Harvey and Ted Garcia, and I mentioned that that's what we're doing in our studio. And LaDonna, I mean, almost like wistfully so, she was like, is there anything better than like a beer at sunset? And I was just like,
sunrise.
I was like, how about sunrise? Because there was like a picture of the sun coming up over the mountains in their studio, because they have like the live cams from around San Diego County. And she goes, that actually sounds better. So that's what we're going to be doing here on a Friday. Wherever you are, however you're enjoying your Friday morning, whether you woke up early to watch the Open Championship out there in Glen Lake or Glenhoy, England?
Somewhere in the UK.
Royal Liverpool, first time since 2014, or you're just waking up groggy from a hard Tuesday, a thirsty Thursday, or you're joining us as you do every morning because you're getting on your way to work. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're with us. And we have a lot to get to today, including these Padres who just absolutely unraveled in front of all of us yesterday. The Mountain West Media Days are going on in Vegas. We've got some sound to bring to you about the Aztecs. That'll be coming up a little bit later in the show. We have those Bryan Adams tickets we're giving away for the Joan Jett Bryan Adams show on July 26th, Viejas Arena. Tickets and info available at Ticketmaster.com, or just keep listening, because coming up later in the show, we're going to play a little tailgate trivia on a Friday.
I like that. You have a category in mind?
I think this one's going to revolve around beer.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot. This is your fault because you brought up golf, but I was watching a little bit of the Open yesterday, and it just made me think about how glad I am that we weren't playing that course the other day, because those bunkers are impossible. Like, you got the best dudes in the world at getting out of bunkers, trying to get out of these bunkers, and they can't do it.
They can't do it, which leads me to this. You know what? Not a single one of us had to do?
Get out of the bunker.
Not a single bunker shot.
You're right, because between the 4 of us, someone didn't get it in the bunker every time.
And I mean, it was never the best shot.
How about that? High five.
High five. Okay.
Look at us.
Look, there weren't a lot of wins on that course.
That's a win.
That's a win. In terms of the golf, the long ball that we were drinking, those were a lot of wins. That was delicious. And if you haven't tried long ball, get your hands on some hard iced tea long ball. They do a great job with that. But yeah, we went to the long ball invitational on Wednesday. For anybody who missed some of the shows this weekend, we were absolutely I would say by the 10th hole, we had so many of those long balls that we were less people than we were hard iced tea.
You know, when the day shifted, I think it was the 10th hole where we had finished our first 9, and Tony, our guy from Long Ball, who was in here making drinks, that the drunkest bar car Friday ever.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, you guys want to do a tequila shot?"
Oh, you're right.
And we were all just, okay.
Yeah. That was right after the green where you had a bunch of those long ball cans in the way.
Chug it in order to putt past it.
And we did that, and it was all downhill from there.
And you made the putt.
Yeah.
By the way, you and I, between the two of us, had 2 combined birdies. That one and then our last hole.
Oh my goodness, you're right. That was actually, we only used our 2 shots. Dude, we actually played.
We're pretty good golfers.
Maybe we just need to be hammered every time.
That actually brings up a good point. Now that the Long Ball Invitational is in the books, we can start focusing on this. I put out the tweet yesterday from Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, and from at Fletch Sports. If you go check it out, there is a link in that tweet that tells you how to sign up to play a round of golf with us for free. And lots of long balls will be drank at that as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. We're going to offer this to our listeners. Here's 2 things that we really enjoy. Obviously, a good time. There is no question about it. We've built a show around enjoying the time that we have with each other, which we enjoy immensely. It was really nice actually having the 3 of us together because
it had been 2 weeks.
Yeah, you were out in Cancun. You were on vacation. Obviously, Travis is still on vacation. He's out this week, and it was just nice to have the 3 of us together because we honestly enjoy this. This is one of the best things that we get to do with our lives. And then on top of it, we love playing golf and we love meeting our listeners. So this is a great opportunity to spend time with us. We want to spend time with you. So check out that tweet. It's up at Big Rich TD Fletch. Also coming up on the show a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by comedian Brian Posehn. He's going to be at the American Comedy Co. this weekend. He's playing shows, so we're going to be talking to him here coming up in the 7:00 hour. Coming up in just a few minutes, Brady Quinn is going to dial in. He was at Pac-12 Media Days.
It's today. Today is Pac-12 Media Day.
Is he there now?
Yeah.
So he's live remote from Pac-12 Media Days doing his show with LeVar and Jonas Knox, the show you just heard right here on San Diego Sports 760 before we got started. So he'll be jumping on with us. I'm really interested to get his thoughts on what's happening in Washington with the Commanders, what's happening around the NFL, but also college football as we ready ourselves for football. We are within striking distance, both the college football season and the professional season.
36 days. Do you know what I had yesterday?
What'd you have?
I had a meeting about the Aztecs.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
That's that time of year when it comes around. It's like, meetings suck for the most part when you're talking business. But as soon as they were like, no, we need to start talking about like where we're going to be doing pregame this year. I was like, oh, we're only like 36 days away.
Yeah. We have a lot to get set up.
Exactly 2 minutes to talk about Padres before we bring on Q.
Yeah.
Thoughts on yesterday?
My thoughts were this. What should our expectations be? We should have seen this coming. I mean, every time the Padres give you something to be excited about, and every time we start to feel like, okay, maybe this is it. This is the turning point we've all been waiting for. They go out there and they show you who they are, which is an inconsistent baseball team. This has been happening all season long. So yes, 2 very good games against a very good team in the Toronto Blue Jays, but it completely unravels. Blake Snell, even though he only allowed 1 earned run, he looked completely different than he has in basically the past 2 months.
It was back to uncomfortable Blake still,
yes,
which you don't love to see, especially following some comments that were made by Bob Melvin. Now, I'm not blaming Bob. If anything, I'm blaming Blake. If you remember that rant that Derek Togerson went on our show yesterday about Blake Snell, I think Derek was largely correct, and I don't know that Blake needed to come out against Philadelphia. I think he wanted to come out, and that's a bad position to be in. So what does that tell you about maybe conversations that Blake has been hearing inside the front office? If he's had any conversations with them, is he preparing for an exit? That's kind of what he looked like to me yesterday.
Yeah, Blake looked uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to watch. The offense helped him 0. Obviously putting up 0 runs on the board. It was a 4-0 loss for the Padres. The bullpen unraveled. I mean, what else is new? You know, what's new, honestly, is when the Padres look like a really commanding baseball team, which they did over the first 2 games of this Toronto swing of this 10-game roadie they're on. They finished with a 3-game set over the weekend in Detroit against the Tigers. We'll see how that goes. But I'm expecting more of the same, because anytime they deliver you any good, it's met by some bad, and usually a little bit more bad than good. And that's the reason why they have a sub 500 record, and why they've had a sub 500 record throughout most of this season. So yeah, disappointing loss for the Padres. And as we near the trade deadline, you kind of want to see Blake Snell, if they are going to be sellers, which we heard word from Kevin Acee that that's not the case. They're going to be buyers. But if they are going to sell Blake Snell, you want him to look as good as possible. Okay, we'll get back to the Padres in just a little bit. But right now, we've got to jump to this. Our very good friend from Two Pros and a Cup of Joe on Fox Sports Radio. Hear that show every single day before we get on the air here on San Diego Sports 760. Brady Quinn joining the show. Good morning, Brady. How you doing, man? Oh, do we have him up?
Used to that, 2:30 a.m. wake up call Pacific time, but it's been fun. It's always fun to come out to Vegas. It's always fun to get around a lot of the coaches here for the Pac-12 Media Day.
Yeah, it's really cool that you're out there. It's an environment unlike any other. Describe it though. Exactly what happens at a media day for a conference for people who are uninitiated to this process?
Well, the cool thing is the Pac-12, and this is one of like the signature events when you talk about media days. I think a lot of us in the broadcast world, and I was unaware of any of this because I played at a school that didn't even have a conference. So really didn't know how this whole thing worked when I got into broadcasting, but it's the unofficial start of the season. And what you see a lot of is the conferences will host their media day at the venue they're going to finish the season with a conference championship game. So last night we had a nice dinner at Allegiant Stadium, obviously where the Pac-12 championship game will be played. And it's a bunch of, head coaches, athletic directors, folks with the Pac-12, a lot of the broadcast networks who are all able to sit down and get to know each other a lot better. I had the opportunity to sit with a good friend of mine, Bernard Muir, who's at Stanford, obviously, and then Troy Taylor, their new head coach there. And so we really had some good conversation, just talking football, talking life, all those good things. But you get to kind of see and get to know a lot of other people. And so it helps, I think, as far as building the personal relationships that you're looking for, but also so you can kind of provide greater context to a lot of the people out there that aren't able to attend an event like this. So it's a good time. And then today you get more interviews, more things going on with some of the players. And so you get to know those guys a little bit better too.
Brady, I think everyone was kind of expecting the Pac-12 to maybe have some news about a new broadcast deal during their media day, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Do you have any sort of insight, any idea what's going on with the Pac-12 and what we can be expecting in terms of a broadcast rights deal?
Yeah, they talked about that a little bit last night, or at least made mention of it. It's still obviously a work in progress. My intuition is I think there's just still a lot of moving parts in the world of college football. There's still a lot of schools who are trying to evaluate what's best for them and best for their future, whether it be, looking at media rights deals or even looking at trying to move to other conferences. So I think these things are really hard to iron out, because as you're talking to some of the different media partners, trying to figure out what that distribution is going to look like and the economics of it, you also have to be reassuring if you're the conference that all those teams are going to be there. And I think there's a lot of things at play still as we look at, various conferences looking at potential expansion. And we always hear rumors of that and whispers of that. But I always think those are things that play a role in why you maybe haven't heard that media rights deal ironed out or announced quite yet.
Brady Quinn joining us this morning on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. Brady, I'm the color analyst for the San Diego State football team. Ben works behind the scenes and on air as the pre and post game. We're the flagship of San Diego State football and basketball and all athletics here on San Diego Sports 760. So we're tied into the Aztecs. We've seen what they've done over especially the past decade plus. That's led them to really be in the conversation nationally to join the Power Five. Pac-12 seems to make the most sense. I don't know how closely you follow the Aztecs, but when you look at sort of the next reshuffling of the deck, how likely would you say it is for San Diego State to join the Pac-12?
Well, I think if the opportunity presents itself, there's definitely a strong likelihood that would be one of the teams they'd look at, and just from recent years and since I've gotten into broadcasting and obviously following Brady Hoke's tenure there and what he's done of late. He's done an unbelievable job. I think the school, by and large, as you kind of mentioned, talking about some of the other programs too, have been competitive. So I think they could compete. It would obviously be a big win for San Diego State. How that would impact the perception of the Pac-12. I don't know. I think that's always one of the tougher things when you are a Power Five conference and you're inviting in teams from group of five conferences. Is there's a little concern about what does the perception look like of these schools that we're bringing in, and I think San Diego State has been able to at least put themselves in a position to be one of those teams that you're talking about that's worthy of being able to compete, but I think also being in that conversation of a team that could provide the sort of resources and so forth for the student athletes where they're not going to be at a disadvantage walking in there. I was at the Big 12 Media Day last week in Dallas, and you've got BYU and Cincinnati and Central Florida and Houston all a part of it. And those are obviously four programs that I think we nationally look at and say, like, yeah, we've seen them on the big stage, right? Like since 2017, no group of five teams won more than UCF. So when you see them, join a conference like the Big 12, you say, okay, we think they're going to be able to go in there and immediately compete right away because we've seen the sustained success. I think San Diego State has been able to do that to a degree where they would immediately walk in and be competitive. To me, it's just about like whether that opportunity presents itself. And I think with the way things are moving right now, I would not be surprised at all if they aren't that team that gets added in.
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of waiting for it. It feels like it's going to happen. We just want to get that across the finish line. Switching gears over to the NFL, Brady, news of the day, Washington Commanders officially sold out of Dan Snyder to Josh Harris. As someone who hosts a radio show with LeVar Arrington, who played with Dan Snyder as an owner, as someone who played in the NFL yourself, just your first thoughts when you see kind of a shift like this. Feels momentous for the NFL to get Dan Snyder out and bring in new blood.
Yeah, it's huge for the NFL, I think, in getting back one of the more storied franchises and really looking at the downfall of Washington since he took over as ownership. It can't be overstated how poorly he did as an owner. I mean, not only from the on-field product, which was a sub 500 record, struggled really to get into the playoffs and replicate what you saw going through the 70s, 80s, 90s. But also obviously the workplace conduct. I mean, it was just awful, and the lack of revenue share and the secrecy and all the things that were going on behind the scenes. So there's a lot of people who are ecstatic about the fact that you now get a once storied organization back into the hands of hopefully an ownership group that can lead them into not only being more competitive, but building out a new stadium. Maybe you're hosting a Super Bowl there. You're just able to have a little different feeling about the Washington Commanders moving forward than what it was, at least under the ownership of Dan Snyder. So it's a great day for the NFL. I think it's a great day for all involved. Really, as far as Ron Rivera, the players who are part of that roster, they've got a new light. Now they've got to prove themselves. I think anyone knows anytime you got a new boss, right? You've got to go back out there and prove yourself again. And that's the situation that all those guys are in, to see whether or not the Josh Harris group is going to want to keep Ron Rivera, is going to want to keep some of the people that are there. But still, I think they're in for a much better journey than what most players experience under Dan Snyder as an owner.
Chatting with Brady Quinn this morning. You hear him every single morning on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. He hosts that show on Fox Sports Radio. Also, he's a college football and NFL game analyst and works on Big Noon Kickoff. As soon as you see Brady's face, you're in for some football. And I love it. I love the job that you guys do out there, Reggie and Matt and everybody, Rob Stone. Those guys are great. You're great. We're pumped for this upcoming season. But sticking with the NFL for a moment, I wanted to ask you this question because I've heard you chatting about it on the show. Running backs. This has been it's like the offseason of the running back in the NFL. Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard signs his franchise tag, but Saquon looks like we're heading towards a holdout with the Giants. Josh Jacobs maybe the same in Las Vegas. What are your thoughts on the running back position and really the noise around the fact that these guys aren't getting what they feel is due to them this offseason?
Well, I think generally speaking, everyone feels like they should be paid more, right? Like I don't know if there's anyone out there that's like, man, I'm not getting paid enough. One of my Notre Dame brethren, Zach Martin, who signed the biggest deal for a guard, he might be an actual holdout because he's under contract. So by definition, that's what we consider a holdout. And Chris Lindstrom signed a deal that surpassed them by about $6.5 million average annual value per year. And now he's like, hey, I got that 99 Madden rating, man. Like, I'm one of the best in the league. Like, I think I need a new contract, even though I got 2 years left. And so it's not just running backs. I think everyone wants to strike an opportunity to try to make as much as they can for as long as they can. Running backs in particular, I think the alarming part is this has been a downward spiral or trend really since Le'Veon Bell, when he played under the franchise tag, which, think about this, back then, and I want to say 2017, it was $12 million. This year, the non-exclusive tag is going to pay Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs and those guys like $10.1 million. So you've literally lost $2 million on that. And then obviously the second year, he ended up deciding to sit out, didn't play under the franchise tag for a second year, but it's been a downward spiral for the running back position being valued since then. And the hard thing is I don't really know how you go about protecting it other than trying to lobby to your union and talk to guys like J.C. Treader and say, we need to change the rules specifically for running backs. And we need to make it where they can either be earlier entrants into the NFL, so they get into the NFL a little bit younger and they're not looked at as a depreciating asset sometimes when they get in from college because of all the wear and tear. And so they get that rookie contract and they can't get to a second contract. Or you find a way of eliminating the franchise tag and not allowing these teams to even draft running backs, whether it's in the first round where they have a fifth-year option or after that, to have so much control during the entire lifespan of a running back in the NFL. I mean, the average career span's 3 years. If you look at a first-round draft pick, realistically, a guy like Saquon can be under contract controlled by the franchise that drafts him for 7 years. I mean, if he plays well enough and the fifth-year option's picked up, you can have 2 more tags on top of that. That's 7 years. And even though he'll make a good amount of money, he'll never still get the opportunity to maximize his market value by getting to free agency or even threatening that, ultimately. So that's the predicament that they're in. It's going to be really hard to change it. As you know, and everyone knows, if you're negotiating, you're trying to get something from the owners, you got to give something up. And so what collectively is the NFL Players Union going to give up just to try to protect their running backs? And I'll be quick to say, probably nothing.
Right.
I mean, based on how the CBA has gone in the past, probably nothing. And so the only realistic solution, there's 2 things that are going to play a factor on running back salaries moving forward. One, running backs in college football, at least based on the data that I'm seeing, they actually are one of the highest paid position groups in NIL. So you might start seeing some players who are looking at what's happening at the NFL level and saying, I'm willing to stay a little bit longer. And so you might not get as many talented guys or might not get as many guys coming out in general into the draft, which is going to be the replacements, the eventual replacements that all these teams are looking to do when they've got a high-priced running back. And the other thing, and I kind of mentioned this on the show yesterday, is if you're a player like Daniel Jones, you may have to say, hey, look, I'm taking a portion of my salary. Even though I just did my deal, did my extension, I want to devote some of my money to Saquon. Now, at this point in the juncture, they can only do a 1-year deal where they can't pay him technically more than $10.1 million. But you'd have to have Daniel Jones step up and say, I'm going to do this like Tom Brady. I'm going to try to create more space and give a portion of what I'm supposed to be paid to another player because I'm better, we're better with Saquon Barkley. Outside of doing that, or maybe the Giants throwing Saquon Barkley a bone just for this 1 year non-exclusive tag number, there's really not much else you can do at this juncture. So they're in a really, really tough spot. I feel for them. And I'm not really sure how they're going to be able to fix this unless they have some of their own players help out in that regard.
Yeah. I don't see a solution. And like you said, they're controllable by the team if they're drafted until almost
Dalvin
30.
Cook is the solution.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens coming up soon. Brady, awesome chat as always. And we'll do it again real soon. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Brady Quinn, Fox Sports Radio and the Fox Galaxy. You see him all over the television, and rightfully so. That's a beautiful man. You're going to see him on Fox leading into your college football Saturdays.
Such great hair.
Coming up next, we got to get to this. A new turn of the page in Washington. Quite refreshing getting Dan Snyder out of Washington. He will no longer be the owner of the Commanders. But do you know what else is refreshing?
Are you talking about long ball?
Oh, yes, I am.
Long ball hard iced tea?
Yeah.
Our guys, Dennis and Daniel O'Connor, we got to hang out with them on Wednesday. They took this classic cocktail, the Long Ball and Soda, and they put a little backspin on it to make the new America's favorite, finest lemon iced tea, ready to drink cocktail. It keeps the party going all day long. It comes in both the shooter and the cans. We're pushing the cans right now because they're perfect for the early tea time or the twilight session. I played golf earlier this week, and this weekend I'm going to be watching golf. But you know what goes great with both of those things? Long Ball, Crafton in San Diego, January 2023. Long Ball is shareable. It's crushable. It's a canned cocktail with just 3 ingredients, only 123 calories, just 5 grams of sugar. Long Balls have that clean, refreshing finish that'll keep you in the game all day long. And kind of exciting right now, if you head over to my Twitter account at Fletch Sports, you'll see a link that'll take you to our website, sportssd.com. And under the contests and promotions tab, you're going to see golf with Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. What Long Ball is doing is they're going to send us, as well as one of our listeners, every single month out to one of these beautiful golf courses around San Diego that you can have Long Ball at. And we're going to play a round of golf for free with you. We love doing that kind of stuff, and we want to do it more. So head over, smash that link, and sign up. It's free to do. We'll pay for your long balls all day long. No worry about that. Visit longballshooter.com for a full list of retailers. Sign up for the Long Ball Challenge for your chance to win $10,000 in cash and prizes. And find Long Ball at more than 20 San Diego golf courses, kegamodel.com, Total Wine and Spirits, and now available in Costco. Costco's where you can get those big cans. Go long, tease nuts. Please drink responsibly. And again, head over to my Twitter account at Fletch Sports to find the link to sign up to play a free round of golf with us. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, we'd love to take you out. I will say it's more drinking than golfing, but it is an excellent time. Coming up next, we talk about the Washington Commanders and the Dan Snyder list Washington Commanders. Who's the next NFL owner to get the boot? We'll find out coming up next. Dan Snyder out, Josh Harris in. What does this mean for the 2023 NFL season? We'll talk about it coming up next. This update is presented by AutoZone. Padres cannot secure the sweep in Toronto. They lose yesterday 4-0 on getaway day. Padres now are going to be taking on the Tigers for the next 3 games in Detroit. Team USA starts their title defense in the Women's World Cup starting today when they take on Vietnam at 6 o'clock. You'll see Alex Morgan. You'll see Megan Rapinoe. All the stars are back. Over in the NFL, the sale of the Washington Commanders is official. Dan Snyder making his way out of the league. He's making his way out with a $60 million fine. Josh Harris making his way in with a $6.05 billion purchase. Dan Snyder fined $60 million by the NFL after their investigation into the workplace of the Washington Commanders. The 151st Open at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club in the United Kingdom. Day 2 is underway. We're watching it on the screen right now. American Brian Harman has the lead 10 under. He shot 65 today on one of the toughest courses in the world. The Open Championship update brought to you by the Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop now at worldwidegolfshops.com. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. So get in the zone. It's AutoZone.
Coming up later in the show, we have Bryan Adams tickets. We're going to play a little tailgate trivia for those. He's playing alongside Joan Jett at Viejas Arena July 26th. Tickets and information available at Ticketmaster.com, or just keep listening. Tailgate trivia for Bryan Adams tickets coming up.
I'm glad Darren brought up fair play, because the boys will be out there noon to 6 today. John and Jim from 3 to 6, Darren Smith noon to 3. And the Women's World Cup, Team USA kicks off tonight. It started yesterday, but Team USA is going to be playing Vietnam tonight at 6 o'clock. And fair play, for as much as fun as it is to go watch Padres there, and we remember some of those postseason games last year, how packed it was. And that was really like coming out of COVID. It was like, oh, I'm hugging strangers again. Fair play is also a huge soccer bar. So if you're looking for a spot to watch Team USA tonight, 6 o'clock, taking on Vietnam, fair play is the place to be. I'm sure Darren Smith is going to be hanging out there doing tequila shots, watching the girls play. This is like the one time of every 4 years that I really enjoy soccer, the Women's World Cup.
It's great. Honestly, women's soccer, women's tennis are 2 sports where 100% I'm more interested in the women's sport than I am the men's sport. I just like it better. I think the volleys last longer in women's tennis, and I enjoy that more than just seeing a lot of aces. And in women's soccer, I actually feel like the women are feistier and there's less flopping.
Yeah.
When it comes to like penalties and stuff like that. Like when a girl goes down in women's soccer, you know she's hurt. In men's soccer, he's just trying to sell the fact that it was too hard of a tackle.
Right. And we got an email from Adam Cook, who's the owner of Fair Play, yesterday, and he said they're expecting a full house for the soccer game tonight, or the soccer match tonight. So if you want to get in, make sure you're there early. And if you're there early, hang out with John and Jim. I don't know, buy John a beer.
Yeah. By the way, it's the perfect day, a perfect Friday for sports watching. So if you're going to be joining us during the 8 o'clock hour, Chula Vista Brewery is coming in on Bar Car Friday, brought to you by Keg and Bottle. We're going to be doing that in the 8 o'clock hour. Then you move on to the Darren Smith Show, which is basically going to be the Padres pregame show. Bring you up to 3 o'clock. Padres first pitch at 3:40. If you're over at Fair Play, you're going to spend time with Darren, and then you're going to watch the Padres game during John and Jim, and then they'll lead you right into the World Cup match between the U.S. women and Vietnam. So it is a perfect Friday in the middle of summer, where usually it's like, hey, what's really going on? Like everything's going on.
A lot.
And it's happening at Fair Play. So get out there, support the show, support the station, support the bar. Great bar in North Park. We've been many times. Okay, steering back to the NFL before we actually get back to the Padres ourselves.
Wait, hang on. Did you say NFL?
I did. And there is a huge story, a couple of huge stories that came out yesterday in the NFL. We'll start with the first one, which is Dan Snyder is out. Unanimous decision amongst the owners who voted, sending Dan to the side, and now it's the Harris Group stepping in to own the Washington Commanders.
Here's my only issue with this whole thing. You ready? I'm glad Dan Snyder's out. He needed to go. There's a couple other owners I think need to go. The NFL needs to have new blood in it constantly, or else things could get ugly. But Dan Snyder leaves, right? He bought the team for $800 million.
Yeah.
The NFL throws this fine at him for all their investigation into the workplace of $60 million. And you think, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. But just like we've been talking with the running backs and everything, it's all relative. Dan Snyder just made damn near $5.5 billion yesterday.
Yeah. So original investment was $800 million, sold for $6.05 billion, a record sum for a North American sports franchise up for sale. This is on the heels, obviously, of the record-breaking sale of the Denver Broncos. So look, what it comes down to is the NFL is big business. They're printing money. It is one of those companies, or I should say conglomerates in this country, where if you get welcomed in, you're basically royalty.
And you're set for life.
Yeah.
Pretty much no matter what happens.
Yeah. This is going nowhere. It's only gaining ground. And with sports betting being legalized state to state across this country, this is only going to get bigger and better for any of these NFL owners.
Who's next?
Who's next in terms of which team sells? I mean,
or which team, like these owners seem like they did come together. Now it was almost forced upon them because of what was happening in the workplace of the Washington Commanders, but they did it once that all came out. It was like, okay, well, we're banding together and understanding that we're not going to be able to survive with this guy in the fraternity.
I don't want to presume that any team is necessarily looking to be bought by anyone. Usually it's passed down in families, but if I were to guess, it would have to be following scandal. Because 2 out of the last 3 sales, the Carolina Panthers and the Washington Commanders, both happened because an owner created a toxic culture that involved sexual assault allegations that led to their dismissal from the league, and they're forced to sell. And so unless another scandal breaks out, I think we're probably set with our 32 owners for a while, unless there's expansion. And if there is expansion, we'll see, obviously, a new blood, or I should say maybe multiple new owners in the NFL. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this is a good thing. The one piece of this article that's frankly to me the most interesting part is there is going to be a complete rebranding and most likely a new team name for the Washington Commanders.
Good. That name sucks. Like, I mean, they shouldn't be named the Washington Redskins anymore. I think we all understand that. We all agree with that. But Commanders sucks. It's a bad name.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a better solution. Maybe the Fletches. That's pretty good.
The Fletches? The Washington Fletches?
Slide me a cool bill.
I bet you that, like, in a foreign language, that's a really offensive derogatory term.
It actually
like to fletch sounds like a verb that could be very alarming.
So if now again, this is all from when I was
you never want to get caught fletching.
This is what this is when I was like a kindergartner. If you move a couple letters around, it actually is really gross. I'll tell you during the break.
Yeah,
but
I know what you're talking about, and that's awful.
But when I was in kindergarten, we had to do like the report on what your last name means. Apparently, a Fletcher was somebody who used to build arrows.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Fletches are the
feathers in the back? Yeah. Oh, my. That's actually a cooler last name. Do you know what Ornberger means?
Probably gross.
No, I looked it up one time, and I only could find one meaning. It's obviously
Lady of the Night.
Prostitute. No, it means
she who gives crabs.
It means barren of wood. You're welcome, America. No, you know what? What did Bon Jovi call his team? Oh, it was like an arena team. He called it the Philadelphia Soul.
That's not bad.
Maybe like the Washington Soul.
Well, you got to think it has to do something patriotic, right? So like that's where Commanders came from, and I get that. It's just Commanders sounds corny.
Oh. Speaking of souls, I want to talk to you about your feet.
Bingo.
Look, it's summertime, and the Good Feet store has got you covered because you're going to be on your feet a lot. Actually, from Wednesday on, I've logged more than 12,000 steps every day. We were on the golf course all together, and then yesterday was a busy day. We'll see what today looks like. I'm guessing I'm going to be chasing the kids around all day long after I get out of here heading into the weekend. And if you're like me, and for years you've struggled with back pain or knee pain or hip pain or ankle pain, or any of your load-bearing joints in the lower body have been bothering you, you need a solution, and the solution is getting over to the Good Feet store. They have these personally fit arch supports, and you can get in there and do a free, no obligation fitting and test walk. And the Good Feet store is offering a lifetime warranty on those arch supports. And for a limited time, they'll even give you a free pair of premium shoes with a qualified purchase. That's $140 in value. These have been a lifesaver for me. I've basically eliminated all of the joint pain that I was experiencing prior to wearing these Good Feet store arch supports. So I want you to try for yourself. Get to a Good Feet store. That's the Good Feet store today, and find your location at goodfeet.com. More NFL history was made yesterday, and we'll fill you in on what exactly that was coming up next. New ground has been broken in the NFL. We'll get to it in 2 minutes. So, look, there's a story in the NFL that I wish didn't need to be a headline, but it is headline news because it is a groundbreaking story. The strength and conditioning coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars, or I should say the assistant strength and conditioning coach, Kevin Maxson, has become the first male coach in major Americans men's professional sports to publicly come out as gay. And he told Outsports.com in an interview he did that he made the decision because he didn't want to hide who he is any longer. And he was hoping that this story of his could possibly inspire others in similar situations. And it's a decision that he's received a resounding amount of support from Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it sounds like overall the reaction to this has been majorly positive. We bring this up because it is major breaking news. Obviously, he's the first of his kind to come out in professional men's sport and a coaching capacity. Of course, Carl Nassib is the first out gay player. The reason why it's a story is because it's a first, but it doesn't feel like it should be a story.
I wish it wasn't, and not saying that in a bad way. Like, I totally respect him. I'm glad he came out. I'm glad he is who he is, but there's a lot of gay people in the NFL. I'm assuming there's a lot of gay coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's just a life. It's a person. I don't know why we have to dig into it.
Well, here's the deal. It's not even a lot. It could be a small amount, but there are. Like, the point is, and there always has been, there's always been gay people working in every business. There's always been gay people living in every neighborhood. There's always been gay people in that are friends of yours or friends of mine or friends of anybody's out there. And whether they're out or not, they live in society and they have their rights. And it's a free society, fortunately, in the United States. And it's the best country in the world. And it's because things like this can happen. Because there's other countries where if you are publicly outed, whether it's by your own admission or somebody else's of you,
might get killed.
You could be stoned to death. Like, so we live in the best place in the world. And again, he's going to get supported. He's obviously going to, feel better. It sounds like as a result of coming public with this. But here at iHeart, we work with gay people. Wherever you're working, wherever you're listening to us, you work with gay people, whether you know it or not. And like you said, it's not because we don't like talking about it or because we're uncomfortable with it. It's because hopefully at some point in the very near future, people don't feel like they have to live in a shroud of darkness.
It's almost like the pendulum swinging too far the other way. Like, you might make people uncomfortable by putting their whole news out on ESPN on the front page. You know what I mean? Like, if that was me coming out, I wouldn't want my entire life to be plastered on front of ESPN.
Well, what's interesting about it is I think in this case specifically, he was hoping to help other people who feel uncomfortable, feel like they have to remain hidden, maybe become inspired. So in this case, it might be different. But yeah, and that's the reason why we're talking about it too, because shepherding that message of inclusivity and all those things, like, it's good. It's good for us. It's good for everybody to understand that, this is a lifestyle that's accepted in this country by, I would say, the major swath of people. There are, of course, people with differing opinions, whether religious or otherwise, and that's going to be there too. And by the way, in a free country, they have their say. You are entitled to feel any way you want, but this has always been a part of human life. Homosexual, go read ancient texts. It's just what it is. There's a certain faction of society that is homosexual, and whether it's a gladiatorial sport like football, or if we're talking about the fashion catwalks in New York or Milan, there's going to be gay people involved.
And I think it's an important message that we say here at Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. We love everybody in the world outside of two people.
Yeah.
They're our afternoon show.
Yeah, John and Jim. They
John
suck. Schaefer and Jim Russell. And they continue to prove that they suck, including and not limited to the fact that John Schaefer yesterday, I believe this was an airport burrito.
It was
eating a burrito with a fork.
Sitting at, all those super uncomfortable seats at every airport that you have to sit in an hour before your flight.
Right outside the gate.
Yeah, and your butt is sore the whole time because they have no support. John's sitting there huddled over like a Chipotle or a Qdoba burrito, just like eating it like a bowl of cereal.
I just don't get them. I just don't. It's just, So Jim tweets out the picture of John.
Well, and they just broadcast their entire lives on Twitter. Bless you.
Oh my God.
That sounded like a good one. That was deep.
Dude,
In the bowels of Rich
oh
Ornberger.
my gosh. I feel better.
You look better.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, so John, Jim takes this photo, he tweets it out. And yeah, you're right. They're documenting their whole lives on Twitter. But this specifically, like, what bothered me also was John's face. He was looking at Jim so annoyed, like almost like, why are you taking a picture of this? This is completely normal. No, it's not normal, John.
And then he probably looked at the picture and said, wait, can you take another one? I don't look annoyed enough.
Yeah, this is not normal behavior. It shouldn't be celebrated. You know, Kevin Maxson, he should be celebrated, right? You know, he just did something groundbreaking. John Schaefer eating his burrito with a fork. Go fork yourself, John. How about that?
I'm excited to have him back.
we are inclusive on this show, except for those two
Except
people.
for John and Jim.
That's it.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to sneeze.
they're the
again.
worst.
Good Lord.
They are back today, and they will be out at Fair Play today. So if you want to go make fun of John Schaefer to his face, we encourage that. In fact, I think you should do that. So
Yeah.
go over to Fair Play tonight and just say, hey, John, go fork yourself.
Yeah, awesome experience over there. You can watch a little Padres. You can watch the Women's World Cup match between them and U.S. Women's and Vietnam coming up at 6:00 over there at Fair Play. All right, coming up next, actually, we just mentioned John and Jim, so we're going to give them credit. They sat down with Brady Hoke, head coach of the Aztecs. He had a lot to say about the upcoming season, Jalen Maiden being the quarterback coming up, also the Padres on getaway day. We got to revisit a little sound from Kevin Acey's interview with us on Wednesday. He said something very interesting that is very telling for the next couple of weeks here as the Padres near the trade deadline. Also, we're going to have some laughs. We got a comedian coming in studio. All that on the other side. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch.
It's hour two, Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. We got a Bar Cart Friday presented by Keg and Bottle coming up in just a couple minutes, but this update's presented by AutoZone. Padres cannot secure the sweep in Toronto. They lose yesterday 4-0 on getaway day. Padres now take on the Tigers for the next 3 games in Detroit. If you're looking for a spot to watch some Padres, if you're looking for a spot to watch the Women's World Cup tonight, head on over to Fair Play in North Park. We'll be broadcasting live from noon to 6 today. Team USA starts their title defense in the Women's World Cup starting tonight when they take on Vietnam at 6 p.m. Over in the NFL, the sale of the Washington Commanders is official. Dan Snyder making his way out. Josh Harris making his way in. $6.05 billion was the purchase price. Dan Snyder fined $60 million on his way out of the NFL after their investigation. The 151st U.S. or Open Championship at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club in the UK, day 2 is underway. Rory McIlroy hitting out of like one of the worst lies I've ever seen in my life currently, and he somehow puts it back in the fairway. Brian Harman, 10 under par, 65 on the tournament. He is in first place right now in the clubhouse after day 2. This Open Championship update brought to you by the Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop now at worldwidegolfshops.com. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. It's AutoZone.
Yeah. Happy Friday to those who celebrate. It's Big Rich, TD, and Fletch on a Bar Car Friday, brought to you by Keg and Bottle. They got 10 locations around San Diego. So if you're heading into your weekend interested in picking up a couple of libations, mixers, cocktails, liquors, spirits, wines, beer, get to a Keg and Bottle location. Also, great restaurant attached to some of these locations, K&B. You sit down, you have a delicious meal. The one in Del Cerro is actually one of the first restaurants I ever went to in San Diego when I first moved here to play for the Chargers. It was down the block from our house, and we just love that location. We went there for steak and bourbon tasting recently. That was a ton of fun. Tony Condra, owner, operator, his lovely wife, Lydia, are great people. So stop in and say hi this weekend if you're looking to make some weekend plans.
We were talking about earlier in the week just our sponsors and how they've all kind of fit the vibe of our show. None more so than Tony Conja.
No, yeah.
Like that dude runs his business like we operate our show.
Exactly.
It is fun first.
Fun first, welcoming. The vibe is be who you are, have as much to drink as you care to, and just be along for the hang. And Tony,
Caution to the wind, just have fun, baby.
Yeah. It's really a great time when Tony's in studio. I think he's skipping this one. It'll be Andreas, his secondhand man, coming in with Chula Vista Brewery. And we are excited to have Chula Vista come in through. I've heard amazing things. I've never actually tried their beer. And that's on me because I love tasting the local breweries. And so this is going to be exciting. I actually heard from 2 people walking in here that Chula Vista Brewery is awesome. So
I know coworker Pablo, big fan.
Okay, cool.
Big fan.
Yeah, I actually trust his opinion. I think he's yeah. Okay, so this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a ton of fun. So 8 o'clock hour, we're going to do that. Also, 8 o'clock hour, we're going to do tailgate trivia for Brian Adams tickets. He's playing with Joan Jett July 26th at the Viejas Arena. Tickets info available at Ticketmaster.com, or keep listening for tailgate trivia. We're going to do our second edition of beer version of tailgate trivia. So that's coming up in just a little bit. We got to talk a little bit about the Aztecs. So the Aztecs, San Diego State University, the athletic department, and the Mountain West had a big falling out recently over a letter where the Aztecs said, look, we were just talking that it was our intention in the future to leave the Mountain West Conference, and we were talking about planning all that.
But the Mountain West read, we're out. See ya.
Yeah. And so what it all came down to was the Mountain West saying, well, we're going to withhold your share of the profits from our broadcast network deals and until we get our exit clause paid in full. And so essentially they were basically threatening the Aztecs, like, we're going to kick you out. We're going to kick you out because we feel, well, what it all boiled down to was maybe a misunderstanding or maybe, I don't know, maybe the legal fees were mounting on the Mountain West Conference side and they realized they didn't really have a case here. Whatever the situation was, the sheets got uncreased and now here we are. Everything's fine. The Aztecs went out to the Mountain West Media Days and they're going to play a Mountain West Conference schedule and they're still in the Mountain West Conference.
And I think they will be for sure for this year and probably next year as well. Now,
that was never in question. They were always going to be in the conference playing a conference schedule this year. It was just about 2024 and beyond.
Right. So the new Mountain West commissioner, Gloria Navarez, was on with John and Jim 2 days ago now when they were first getting into Vegas. And John straight up asked her, are you planning on having San Diego State in your conference long term? And she said, no, how could I? Like, it's with the changing of how college football is right now, like we can't plan for them. They've been great for us. I think we've been great for them. But the Aztecs, if there's a better opportunity, it would be stupid for them not to take it. Like, everyone knows what's going on here.
Yeah.
This is just a messy divorce where everyone's trying to get theirs.
Well, and what's so strange about it is it feels like, and again, this is my own speculation. I've talked to nobody. I've got no further information to share about either side of this dispute, but this is what I'll say. When you have a conference commissioner, her job is to speak on behalf of teams in the conference. And I feel like maybe there's a university president somewhere out there in the Mountain West or a couple of athletic directors who feel like they have a particularly large axe to grind against the Aztecs for whatever reason.
It could be jealousy, by the way.
It could just be jealousy.
It could be like, why isn't our team getting this attention to move on?
Exactly. And purely just trying to make it difficult for the Aztecs. And certain people in any room have some sway. So if it's somebody with enough sway and they start casting their large shadow over the rest of the other university presidents or athletic directors, maybe all of a sudden, a strongly worded letter from the office of the commissioner can be written to the Aztecs stating that, no, we're playing hardball. You guys are out. Well, yeah, until everybody comes to their senses and realizes this isn't actually what's best for the conference. This isn't what's best for any of these teams in the conference. If the Aztecs do leave the Mountain West, it's worse for the Mountain West. It's not better. And so welcome them back. That should have been, frankly, the first page of this novel. Instead, it was the last.
And what's refreshing now is that it seems like everyone's kind of putting their weapons away, like they've holstered their guns for now.
Yeah.
We can start talking about football because, like we said, it's 36 days away, and we're seeing Aztec football back on the field. Like, you're going to see Jalen Maiden come out for his second year as the starting quarterback of the San Diego State Aztecs, and that's where it gets fun. Like, once we get to start doing the Brady Hoke show, once Brady starts coming on our show every Monday at 7:30 a.m., beeping his phone the entire time, I can't wait for that stuff when we get to talk about the defense and the offense and the passing game, which hopefully has a little more life infused into it this year because Ryan Lindley's the offensive coordinator. That's when it gets to be fun. And John and Jim had Brady Hoke on their show yesterday, and they talked about Jalen Maiden for a little bit. And like after that performance from last year in this offseason, what is coach going to be expecting from Jalen this year?
Yeah. I mean, he should be excited.
Jalen's the guy. That's the quote.
Well, Jalen's the guy. We knew that, though. I mean, come on. I look, as much as...
But it's nice to hear a coach not play the thing where, oh, it's an open competition. Everyone's there. Jalen's the guy.
Right. But it's also malpractice as a coach if you have a starting quarterback who had as much success as Jalen Maiden, and no offense to Kyle Crum or Leu, but things looked a lot different when they were on the field. They're just not ready yet. And by the way, there's a lot of players who aren't ready when they first get to college or get their first college action. You're speaking to one of them. When I first got to college, I was a defensive end. I was getting my head kicked in on a daily basis by a future first rounder, Levi Brown, who was ragdolling me all over the field. It takes time to grow into your body. It takes time to get used to the speed and the strength of the game at the college level, especially coming from the high school level, where depending on where you come from in this country, high school football isn't very good in a lot of places. And so it takes a while to catch up to the speed of that game. Jalen Maiden, he's a veteran. He's played at 2 schools, 1 Power 5, and obviously coming to the San Diego State Aztecs football program. He's played both positions, or I should say he's played both sides of the ball, safety and quarterback, and played both last year.
Both well also.
Yeah, he filled in at safety and made some really important plays against Utah in a losing effort, but still a really good effort by Jalen Maiden.
And I don't think I'll ever forget that day that he started at quarterback against Hawaii, when he just came out and all of a sudden it looked like a different team.
Oh yeah.
Like you could tell everyone was behind him. You could tell everyone was fighting the same direction. This is no offense to Braxton Burmeister. I mean that. But when Jalen came out on the field, it felt different. And all of a sudden, he had over 300 yards that game, and it had been the first time in forever an Aztecs quarterback had gone over 300.
There's something to be said about, obviously having a quarterback being paired with good voices in the room, and, credit to Coach Horton. He did an excellent job last year coordinating for this offense. A credit to Ryan Lindley, who was basically parachuted in as the quarterback's coach with the Aztecs football program and really helped after Coach Hecklinski, he moved on, or I should say, he was asked to move on by the Aztecs football program for problems with the offense. And after that point, like you said, Jalen Maiden really had success. And look, I mean, this is going to happen at the college level. It's going to happen at the professional level. Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Just look at the stats. Kellen Moore from the Cowboys is going to come in and be his offensive coordinator because there's problems that need to be solved on that offense. There needs to be a new voice in the room. There needs to be somebody who has, who can speak to the quarterback on his level. And that's what I truly feel like Ryan Lindley is going to be for Jalen Maiden here this upcoming season. And I'm really looking forward to what this offense looks like, and not just this upcoming season, but as it starts to mature and as it starts to be layered and we get to see more and more of what Ryan Lindley can start to do as a coordinator in the college game. I'm really excited for all that. I played with Ryan in the league. He started his career in Arizona Cardinals as a rookie. When I got there as a 4th-year player, I immediately recognized his intelligence. He's a super, super fast learner. So whatever role he takes on, whether it's a coordinating role or maybe one day a head coaching role in college football or beyond, he's going to shine because he's that type of person.
And Daniel Jeremiah put out that tweet last year when Ryan made the move over to the Aztecs that this is going to be one of the fastest risers in all of college football. Yep. Well, after he put that out, he's already up to OC. So, I mean, Ryan Lindley, Jalen Maiden, the offseason that they've had together, can't wait to see what they put together. Rich, the Padres lost yesterday.
They did.
They lost yesterday 4-0. They couldn't get any runs on the board against the Toronto Blue Jays after scoring 11 runs in the first 2 games against them. It's kind of been that same thing all season. We talked about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde the other day and how that's what the Padres have really been. No better example of what happened in this Blue Jays series.
Yeah,
there is no team in the league that can make you feel as good as they can when they're good or as bad as they can when they're bad.
That's perfectly stated. Because the highs are way too high and the lows, they are way too low.
Why couldn't we just be middle ground all year, man?
I mean, honestly,
I pray for a boring baseball season.
If they were a boring 500 team and we're inching toward the trade deadline, you would feel, don't get me wrong, you would still be complaining. There's no question because the expectations were way higher than a boring middle of the ground, middle of the road team.
15 games over 500.
No question about it.
Easy, like bare minimum 15 games over 500 at this point.
At least 10, 15 would be comfortable, and you would be given like the wow eyebrows up if they were 20 games over. But this is the type of talent, or I should say, this is the team that has the type of talent that would be able to do those things. They haven't been able to do those things. It's really disappointing they haven't been able to do those things. But what's odd is the conversation we had with Kevin Acee back on Wednesday.
I've been thinking about it a lot. That's probably one of the more thought-provoking interviews I've had with Kevin because it keeps taking back. Like, he's not surprised at all that this is the moves that they're going to be making, if it is. And the way he said it just so bluntly, like, yeah, I know everyone's talking about them moving on from Hader and Snell, but there's no indication from the front office that that's actually what's going to happen.
Well, we asked him about those 2 names specifically back on Wednesday when our Padres insider Kevin Acee joined the show. We said, is Josh Hader and Blake Snell going to be a part of this team on the other side of the deadline? Here's what he had to say.
If I had to bet, I say yes, but like I can't believe I'm saying it because I think it would be crazy, and there's not anybody that you talk to really that doesn't think that it would be crazy. But like I said Like, that's not the indication you're getting right now. And the fact is, I could also make the argument, just when I say it'd be crazy, it'd be crazy if they are 6 games under. Make the argument to you, it'd be crazy to sell them if you were 500. Because at 500, they're probably 3 or 4 games out of the wild card. And you're telling me you went all this way. At that point, you're the Padres. You are tuning out the noise of the fans who say that it's wait till next year. You're tuning out any of the noise of the media, say whatever. You went all this way, and with 2 months to go, you're punting when you're 4 games out of the wild card with the talented team you have. That would be asinine. Don't you agree? Come on.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I mean, when he said it, I remember at the time, because you heard me. I jumped in there and I was going to say, you know what? It actually does make sense with the way
it doesn't make sense to me.
The more I think about it, the more I think about the Padres and where they're at and what this season has amounted to. I'm not saying I'm not going to be as strong as Ken Rosenthal, who earlier in the week, MLB insider, obviously nationally known. He breaks news all over the MLB, especially around this time of year. But when he said that it would be organizational malpractice if they don't trade Blake Snell, I'm going to come in softer than that. I'm going to say if there is value you can receive from a team for Blake Snell during this season, you should take it.
Dude, there's a lot of value.
Unless your plan is to re-sign him long-term. If they let this season go by, regardless of the outcome, if they let this season go by, actually, not regardless of the outcome, if they win a World Series, I'm not going to have any further commentary. I'm just going to be drunk at the parade. But outside of winning the World Series, regardless of the outcome, if you don't get anything for Blake Snell during this season at this point, man, that's not going to feel good. Because if he's pitching for the Dodgers next year and you got nothing for Blake Snell and this season ends up being a season where you miss the playoffs, are you kidding me?
Puke.
Come on.
You ready to get a little more depressed? I'm going to drop some numbers on you, Richie, that do not make sense mathematically. They do not calculate, but this is the San Diego Padres, and this is their problem. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
In the NL wild card right now, the Arizona Diamondbacks are in first place for the final wild card spot. The San Francisco Giants are there. The Philadelphia Phillies are there. Those 3 are in right now. They are all more than 6 games ahead of the San Diego Padres. For the final wild card spot to get in, the Miami Marlins are currently tied with the Phillies. The Cincinnati Reds are 1 game back of them. The San Diego Padres 6.5 games back of the Phillies and the Marlins. Here's where the numbers don't make sense. Cincinnati and Miami, the 2 teams ahead of the Padres trying to get into that final spot, both have negative run differentials. Both are over 500 on the season. The Philadelphia Phillies have a +7 run differential. The San Francisco Giants have a +37 run differential. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a +20 run differential. So that's taking all the games together, the final scores, adding them up and seeing what your run differential is. Do you know what the Padres is?
What is it?
+42 on the season. That is higher than all of the other NL wildcard contenders right now. +42 on the season. And they have the worst record by far. They're the only team that I just mentioned they're the only team I just mentioned that are under 500 on the season.
Okay, listen, you could have said this very simply by saying this. The Padres need to stop absolutely blowing the doors off of teams and then losing 1-0 and 2-0 and 4-0. Like they need to, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool that you can win 9-1 in the opening game of the Toronto Blue Jays series. But what would be cooler is winning each game by 1 or 2 runs and spreading those runs over days instead of getting them all out of the way in one moment. Like this team is so frustrating because they have the capability. They're just not consistent. So what you're seeing is a massive amount of runs against maybe a lower quality starter, but against better starting pitching, or when this team is trailing early in games, they fail to score runs and offensively they go into the deep, dark hole. It's really, really difficult to watch as a fan. We've all struggled through it together. But again, steering back to the commentary from Kevin Acee, the offense has been dreadful for a large portion of the season, or I shouldn't say dreadful, let's say inconsistent. That's fair. Has been inconsistent throughout the entirety of the season. The pitching, the rotation has been good. if this season results in an early exit from the postseason, if this season results in a missing the postseason, and they get nothing for their effort in having some solid quality players at the deadline, well, then you really do have to start questioning the decision making.
If they're still 6.5 games back by the time the trade deadline comes and they don't trade anyone, I agree with Ken Rosenthal. Organizational malpractice. Like, I'm fine using those two words. If they're still 6.5 games behind the final wild card spot, and when it comes to the trade deadline, which is like a week away now, yeah, organizational malpractice is right. If you would have told me that week before the season started, when we were doing all those Padres shows, when we were super hyped on the season, that it would be July 21st and they don't have 50 wins yet, I'd have told you were crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say they should be closer to 60 at this point.
Well, yeah, of
The
course
fact that they
should be.
don't have 50 wins yet, they only have 46, is embarrassing.
I mean, that's
Happy Friday.
Well, look, I'm going to also add to this. There's still great food at Petco Park.
Awesome beer.
You could get carne asada fries. No, look, I mean, the most positive thing you
1998 bobblehead nights are sick.
Yeah, the most positive thing you could say about the Padres right now is the fact that even though the season's going as sideways as it has, you cannot deny the talent. The talent just isn't playing up to their level, and something's missing. And something might be missing from a chemistry standpoint. And we know chemistry is an interesting thing. Like sometimes it could take like one moment. It could take one guy. You know, maybe there's going to be an addition at the trade deadline that we don't really think is all that consequential. That all of a sudden becomes the reason why the Padres turn it around in the second half. Or it could be addition by subtraction. Sometimes you take away a couple of good players and a team wakes up and they smell they smell the coffee and they're like, oh my God, like we're going to lose more of us if we keep playing awful.
Yeah, it's interesting the psychology that goes into the trade deadline because there are going to be changes made. I just don't know what it is yet. A few texts to catch up on. 619, John and Jim big leagued me this week. I guess being in Las Vegas allows them to ignore their text line. They're not even that cool. Love the morning show. I agree with all of that. John and Jim suck. 619, time to cut our losses with Jake Cronenworth. He absolutely sucks at the plate. One of the worst GM moves ever to extend. I've been kind of saying this for the last couple of weeks, ever since Darren brought it up. If you were to move either Josh Hader or Blake Snell, say you only move one of them, would you take less in return to attach Jake Cronenworth's contract to that? So would you say if you only move on from Josh Hader and not Blake Snell, would you attach Jake Cronenworth just to get that contract off the books so that next offseason you're in a better place to maybe sign someone to bring in? Because Jake Cronenworth's contract, as of right now, is bad. Like, really bad.
Look, if you can find a way to untether yourself from that, you'd probably be doing the team a favor long term. But there's this feeling, though, and we've felt this before, where all of a sudden you move on from a guy and then he goes and has success elsewhere.
And that's the thing. I like Jake Cronenworth. I think he's an excellent defensive player. I think if the bat was as good as it was the last couple of years, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And that's not even saying he was a great batter the last couple of years. He just had a feel for the moment. This year, he has looked so uncomfortable in the batter's box.
It's been way too negative around here. We need to have some laughs. We need to have some fun. So we're going to talk to somebody who's going to be out there making people laugh and having some fun this weekend in San Diego. Comedian Brian Posehn joins us coming up next on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch.
One more text before we break.
Okay.
619. It's the damn bullpen. Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of all of them. Okay, that's what's next on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch.
This update's presented by Staples Stores. Padres cannot secure the sweep in Toronto. They lose yesterday 4-0 on getaway day. Padres now taking on the Tigers for the next 3 games in Detroit. Team USA starts their title defense in the Women's World Cup starting today when they take on Vietnam at 6 o'clock. If you're looking for a spot to watch both those games, Padres and the Women's World Cup, make sure you head on over to Fair Play in North Park. We'll be broadcasting live there from noon to 6 today. Over in the NFL, the sale of the Washington Commanders is official. Dan Snyder making his way out. Josh Harris making his way in with the $6.05 billion purchase. Dan Snyder fined $60 million by the NFL after the investigation. The 151st Open at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club in the United Kingdom. Day 2 is underway. American Brian Harman in the lead. He went 6 under par today at the Royal Liverpool. He is in the clubhouse already as his tee time was about midnight American time. This U.S. Open Championship update brought to you by the Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop now at worldwidegolfshops.com. Staples has great prices on everything you need for back to school. Now save up to 60% on select notebooks, markers, and more at Staples. School savings are always in session. Offer ends July 29th. Prices may vary in-store and online. School on, save on at Staples.
Coming up later on, we got Bryan Adams tickets to give away still. July 26th show with Joan Jett. He's going to be playing at Viejas Arena. Your opportunity to win those tickets playing tailgate trivia with us. And that's right before we start our Bar Cart Friday with Chula Vista Brewery. We're really looking forward to that. This is a brewery I've never actually tried myself. So award-winning beer, 8 o'clock in the morning. That sounds like a good mix for a Friday, good way to start it. But this is the best because Brian Posehn is joining us in studio right now, American Comedy Co. this weekend. And Brian, I was just saying to you, my first introduction to who you were and your humor was watching you on Conan's late night show.
Right.
Over the years, as an interview guest, you were hysterical. So
thank you.
I mean, I'm sure your stand-up, I've never actually seen you on stage, but I'm sure your stand-up is very similar.
It's okay. No, I have a lot of fun. This weekend's going to be awesome. I always have fun down here, and I brought a bunch of goofy friends, and it's just like a party, because it's nerd Christmas for us, Comic-Con. So
yeah. You always try to get out here for Comic-Con?
Man, well, COVID was the only thing that's ever stopped me. I think I did like 25 years in a row.
No way.
Yeah.
Like an unbroken streak?
Pretty much.
Whoa.
I started in 94 coming down here, and then COVID broke that, but I've been last year was the first year back.
Yeah.
And then I come to American Comedy Company at least once a year.
Yeah, they're good folks over there. We love what they do. And so I didn't know that Comic-Con was a thing until I moved here in 2013. And I feel like maybe the rest of the country, rest of the world was really still discovering San Diego Comic-Con back then. But I signed with the Chargers, and I remember over that summer, people were like, you got to go downtown this weekend.
Oh, it's the big one. It's the biggest one in the country. There's still like Chicago has some pretty big cons, C2E2, but San Diego has always been the high bar. And even before, movie companies and video game companies got a hold of it, it was, Star Trek in the old days, and then just comic books. It was a comic book convention.
Do you dress up?
This is it, my friend. No.
For Comic-Con?
No, I never have cosplayed ever. I sometimes, to avoid people bugging me all day, I'll wear like a Mexican wrestler mask, but that's like it. And I'm the biggest luchador you've ever seen. So.
With the beard hanging out the bottom.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Awesome.
It's kind of hard to be incognito when you're our size,
No, yeah. Actually, when you walked in, I was like, oh, finally, somebody at eye level.
The guy that brought me in was bigger than this. The guy that brought me into the station was like 7 feet tall, and I never see people bigger than me. So like that's how I woke up.
John Fink, who is the gentleman who walked you in here, he works on Kogo News here in iHeart San Diego. He's a vegan.
Oh, wow.
He is the largest vegan I think there is on the planet.
He also drives the smallest car I've ever seen anyone that big drive.
Yeah, he
eats like 10 pounds of vegetables every day.
Can you imagine like broccoli?
With the San Diego Zoo, he just
Yeah, that's right. It's like feeding a panda. Like he's just tearing bamboo stalks in his little cubicle all day long. No, I mean, he's a terrifying man, and we're sorry that we exposed you to that. He drives around in Toyota Yaris.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so you mentioned it. Like you like date back with Comic-Con all the way from when it was a comic book convention
Yes.
primarily. I cut my teeth in comics. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I am a huge comic book fan.
Oh, nice.
My dad used to read Spider-Man. And so this is back, I mean, in the 90s. And so every time he walked into a 7-Eleven or a comic book shop, he would buy Spider-Man comics. He'd read them and then he'd give them to me. And I had a collection of probably 1,000 comic books
That's
at
cool.
one point. And I was the biggest Spider-Man fan. What was the comic that really got you interested?
The big two for me were Spider-Man and Batman.
Yeah.
As a kid, I didn't know the difference between Marvel and DC, and I just liked them both, and I still do, but now I've written for Marvel, so, I like Deadpool. I wrote Deadpool for 45 issues, and,
Wow.
I like all those characters, and I've done the same thing with my son. My son is 14 now, and he was cosplaying as Walter from The Big Lebowski yesterday. So
That's awesome. Does he have a white
cool
Russian in
kid.
hand?
He
Or
wanted to.
a fake white
But
Russian?
he did the fake goatee, and as we're heading over to Comic-Con, he brought makeup from Mom, and I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?"
This is
He's like,
like-
"I'm giving myself a goatee, dude," and he has that voice now, like he's got my voice.
It's like a private residence, man.
Yeah.
So you've done a ton of voice work. Speaking of your voice,
Yeah.
Like, so it's not just the acting side of it, which you've been on New Girl, Big Bang Theory, all the network shows. But do you prefer voice acting?
I don't prefer, but it's easier.
Yeah, you have the voice for it. Like there's a certain undeniable.
And you don't have to memorize the words, and you can show up like a slob, or now you can record from home. I mean, half the recording stuff is done through Zoom now. So
Oh, wow.
By the way, my wife and I just watched Surf's Up last weekend. Holds up.
nice. Oh, right
Great
on.
movie.
Yeah, I always look out for Shia LaBeouf. He's like my little brother. So whenever he gets into trouble, I'm like, oh man, that poor kid.
You were Glenn Maverick in that
Yeah,
movie?
I was his big fat brother, Penguin. Yeah.
I mean, if you could be any comic or any character really in one of those voiceover types of movies, what would you be? I think about it all the time, like what animal my voice would best lend itself to.
Warthog.
And yeah, probably a pig of some sort. I mean, I want to say like something cool, like a gorilla or something like a lynx or a panther, but I'm not. I'm a big fat pig.
I used to want to be Eeyore growing up, like
Oh my God.
yeah, because I just have I have Eeyore energy.
No voice has ever been better suited for Eeyore.
When they redid it, I actually did a video, and I still didn't get the part, but I sent them a video going, I am Eeyore. Like I cursed in the thing. I'm like, this is, this is Eeyore right
Mother
in front of
effing
me.
Eeyore
Yeah,
right
man.
here.
I'm like, I've been Eeyore my whole life. Please give me this part. I
Big
didn't get the
Eeyore
part,
energy.
but yeah, I think I was too Eeyore. They were like, nah, let's Eeyore it down a little bit.
Yeah, we really need to pep up Eeyore. And this guy, Brian
This guy
Posehn, is
zero.
really bumming everyone
Yeah.
out.
Or a basset hound. I feel like if there's a dog that epitomizes me, I'd be a basset hound.
I would be like what do you call it? The English bulldog, where
Yeah.
it's just skin folds and it just
Right.
like it just kind of looks like it's melting into a pool of its own drool and its own
But
skin.
there's also a thing about bulldogs that's kind of sweet. They would just want to be your pal. There's just like, hey,
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
me.
I mean, you pretty much described me right there.
That
The
energy.
slobbery pal who's
Yeah.
got some folds and wrinkles.
Throw a
Just look,
ball. Let me do something.
yeah, I'm not gonna chase it, and I'm definitely not bringing it back. But
I
just
wanna
throw it,
chew
man.
on it a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you go get it. I'll chew on it.
Yeah.
Brian Posehn joining us this morning on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. You could catch him at American Comedy Co. this weekend. Obviously here for San Diego Comic-Con as well. Don't harass him though. Let this guy take in Comic-Con. I mean, that's the major takeaway I'm getting is like sometimes it's fun, I'm sure, to meet people who love you, but other times you're looking to be a tourist just like the rest of us.
Yeah, and when I'm with my kid too, it can be weird, and he'll give them a dirty look. Like
Yeah,
he's grown up with it now,
Yeah.
So now he'll just like roll his eyes if somebody comes up and goes, "Hey, man," and he's like,
Yeah.
"Here we go."
Well,
but
actually,
I go, dude, that's paid for your private school. And that's paid for everything else. All everything we're buying this weekend is paid.
Yeah, do you like your PS5?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it. He's got one.
yeah.
Well, the trending question all over the world right now, we have to ask the Barbenheimer, what's your order?
Yeah. Barbie or Oppenheimer? Which are you seeing first? Because me, my friend, I've already got my Barbie tickets. Some people say I look like Ken.
We're doing
Nobody's
both.
ever
The
said that.
family, so we still go to movies, the three of us. It's a small family. It's just my wife and my son and I. So we're doing all three. Both movies. So I think we're doing Oppenheimer first. He said when we get back, we're
well,
seeing
now you're just going to
Oppenheimer.
be depressed when you go see Barbie.
That's probably the right order, though, if you
Then
think about
that'll
it.
cheer you up.
Yeah, a little bit of a palate cleanser
Yeah,
after watching the Manhattan Project play out again.
I saw a tweet the other day that it was like your order should be brunch and bottomless mimosas, then Barbie, and then cigarettes and whiskey, then Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer feels slow, but it feels loud. Like that trailer is so loud, but like
Yeah.
nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it's just like.
Well, I think something's going to happen. I mean, no
Well, right.
spoilers, but
Yeah. Turns out we know how it's kind of like Titanic.
Well, I keep hoping to see my grandpa in it. My grandpa worked on the Enola Gay. He was a welder for the ship that actually dropped the bombs. But I doubt they're going to show those guys. But like,
well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, but no, I mean, if they use any historical footage,
yeah.
I mean, there might be a picture of them putting together the bomber.
McClellan Air Force Base up in Sacramento. That's where he was a welder there, and he actually welded those bays. And then growing up, he had pictures of the Enola Gay in his garage.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's
so that's my connection to Oppenheimer.
Right. My Oppenheimer is actually my grandfather. No,
Nice.
I'm kidding. No, yeah, Ornberger and Oppenheimer not too far from each other. What's crazy about that movie is like, obviously the way it's told through the American historical eyes is like these were heroes. This was heroism. This is something that ended a war. Obviously, all that stuff. But I haven't seen the movie. I've only read about Oppenheimer, but like. It was like with a heavy heart that this all
Well, I think that plays in the trailer. The trailer's just a big bummer, a big loud bummer. So.
Cillian Murphy looks like he's depressed the entire
And
time.
then you're right. The Barbie trailer is just the opposite. This high energy and pink. And it's like a lot of pink.
It is.
I don't know.
Oh man. What are you looking forward to the most at Comic-Con? Like obviously you're a Marvel fan, DC fan, growing up listening or watching both of those or reading both of those comic books with Batman and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But what are the events or the places that you want to get to?
Well, there's no panels this year, no big panels because of SAG and Writers Guild. For me, it's people watching. It's always you see the most hilarious stuff, and like I saw a Klingon once with 2 chili dogs. He's scarfing on a chili dog, and then he had one on deck, but he's wearing this amazing outfit. So he's holding the other chili dog like 3 feet away from his outfit. And then he's like mad at his friends because his friends were trying to hurry him. And it was just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Is just walk by and I just see this guy go, "Oh, wait up, guys."
It's like you want to go to
Klingon guy.
a place where you're going to see Darth Vader upset that it's so hot inside of his mask while enjoying jalapeno nachos. Comic-Con is your place.
That's your place.
Oh my God. So I'll tell you my only Comic-Con story that really resonated with me. So I'm walking around. Obviously, you see a lot of great things. Every year you could see great things. But one year I was down there and I somehow ended up in an elevator with a bunch of people wearing costumes. And they were talking about the place they were going to. So I'm like, I've never been here before or haven't been in this area. I'll go with them. I'll just kind of tag along. So I leave the elevator. They were going to a furry convention.
Ooh.
Yeah. These are people who dress up in costumes and have sex with each other.
Yeah.
And I was playing like second banana as we're turning a corner.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, that banana got unpeeled, man. And it opened my eyes to a life I now live.
Don't knock it till you try it, Richie.
I don't think that was a banana. No, it was, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the fringes of Comic-Con that you could get in trouble with, obviously.
I worked on the Second Man show, the one that with Joe Rogan.
Oh, that's right,
Doug Stanhope.
Yeah.
And there was going to be
is hysterical.
I've known those guys forever. There was going to be a furry convention in where we were up in Burbank. And they sent me to do a comedy piece, and I couldn't get comedy out of it. It was like a bummer. A bunch of guys in raccoon outfits sitting in a hot tub, and I'm just like,
You were just so
I want to go home so
the
bad.
cameras were rolling, but
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not having a good time.
No.
Brian, we got this text that I think you'll know what it means, but it's going way over my head. So from the 484, hell yeah, Brian, I already got 2 tickets for the Saturday early show. Used to work for Relapse Records during Fart and Wiener Jokes album release.
Oh, nice.
Going to show Brian my Mastodon Leviathan back tattoo if I get lucky.
Right on. I understand all those words.
Yeah. Mastodon band.
Relapse Records is a big metal label, and that's where I did my first couple of records because my friends were doing David Cross and Patton Oswalt had done records with Sub Pop, which is a independent, like kind of a punk label from Seattle that started Nirvana originally. But I was like, I should do something similar to that. So I reached out to all the metal labels and wound up with Relapse.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're a big metal fan.
Huge. Still.
What's the band like that? You know, it doesn't matter where you are. If there's tickets available, you're going.
Probably the most I've Maiden.
Iron
Maiden
yeah.
is still the one. That's the one that I got the most excited about as a teenager. And then Metallica kind of changed everything. And I still love them because I'm a Bay Area kid too. So those are the 2 big ones. Super mainstream now, but not growing up, you know.
No. I was just telling you at break. When I was growing up, my introduction to Metallica and Sabbath and Maiden and all Slayer, like it's the soundtrack of every meathead workout I've ever done in a weight room in a high school or college football weight room. It's what fuels NFL careers. I mean, it really.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, we have that connection.
It's cool. It's absolutely awesome.
You looking for some food recommendations while you're in San Diego?
Yeah, man.
We got one for you, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We got to read an ad here for the Remy. So they're partners with this show, the Remy Steakhouse.
I'm down with Hodads, but I don't. Hodads I go to, and I'm just going to try this place called Chewy's, a taco place.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Chewy's awesome. Hodad's awesome. If you're looking for a great burger though, the Remy Steakhouse in San Diego, it's fine dining, but it's Western with a modern twist. They got Craftsman cocktails. They have a lunch menu. We experienced all that. We had the surf and turf tacos. We had the steak sandwich. Cool. That was awesome. And the owner, Frank, he's a cool dude. He was
the tank.
He was telling us, he was like, listen, he was like, you got to get out to the Remy. He said, because we take cows from New Jersey and we mate them with Japanese Wagyu bulls in Whitefish, Montana. And then we feed them grass and grain finish them. And that's how we make our steaks. I'm like, I'm not sure if animal husbandry is like the perfect segue to sell steaks. I was like, but you've got my interest.
And now we talk about it every single day. Because the cocktails, though, are some of my favorite part about the Remy. You mentioned Ken, the bartender, the craftsman behind the bar. He took such good care of the boys trip when we all went into the Remy. He was pouring up drinks all night. We probably got a little out of control, but thank you, Ken. And don't forget their extensive wine list. Vintage bottles provide something for everyone, every occasion. Perfect for a date night. Perfect for a big group of guys. The RemySD.com is where you need to go. It's right off the 8 in Mission Valley in Hotel Circle. The RemySD.com is where you need to go.
Okay. Also, you need to get out to American Comedy Company this weekend.
Yes.
Brian Posehn, seriously funny guy. I've loved everything you've done. I'm like going through the credits on IMDb, and I'm just being reminded of different places that I've seen you. You have one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood.
Thanks.
Or at least beards.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. American Comedy Co. this weekend. Get tickets at American Comedy Co. online. And Brian, we really, truly appreciate the time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for waking up with us. All right, coming up next, more of this foolishness. We'll see you on the other side. Yeah, it's going to be an awesome time at Fair Play in North Park. John and Jim, they're going to be there. Darren Smith is going to start at noon, take you all the way to 6 p.m. And it's going to be a combination. You're going to have a culture clash a little bit. A lot of soccer fans coming down there to see the women U.S. team play against Vietnam in the evening. But of course, they'll lead you right up to the Padres, which I believe first pitch is 3:40 this afternoon against the Detroit Tigers, last leg of that 10-game roadie the Padres have been on with mixed results. They went 2-1 against the Toronto Blue Jays. They went 1-3 against the Philadelphia Phillies. So they could use a winning series against the Tigers for sure.
I don't think there are words to describe how excited I am.
Yeah.
There is so much beer that just came into our studio.
We are going to be absolutely spoiled this morning. Chula Vista Brewery is in studio this morning, and we have to say a plethora is understating this by miles. Tim Parker, the owner of Chula Vista Brewery, has walked in with a hand truck full of pallets and cases of 16-ounce beers, which reminds me, we need callers on the line right now, 844-570-1360. That's 844-570-1360. If you want to win Bryan Adams tickets to see him at Viejas Arena on July 26th, you need to call right now for those tickets. We're going to play Tailgate Trivia Beer Edition Part 2 coming up on the other side. Plus, it's a Bar Car Friday here in studio with Chula Vista Brewery. We're looking forward to all that coming up next.
It's hour number 3 on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. This update presented by AutoZone. Padres can't secure the sweep in Toronto. They lose yesterday 4-0 on getaway day. Padres now taking on the Tigers for the next 3 games in Detroit. Team USA starts their title defense in the Women's World Cup starting today when they take on Vietnam at 6 p.m. If you're looking for a spot to watch both those games, make sure you head on over to Fair Play in North Park. The Darren Smith Show will be there noon to 3. John and Jim from 3 to 6. Over in the NFL, the sale of the Washington Commanders is official. Dan Snyder making his way out. Josh Harris making his way in as the new owner, purchased it for $6.05 billion. Dan Snyder was fined $60 million on his way out after the NFL investigation. The 151st Open Championship at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club in the United Kingdom, Day 2 is underway. Brian Harman is your leader in the clubhouse. He's at 10 under par. He finished his round earlier. Jordan Spieth making a move on moving day. He is 3 under already through 7 holes. Jordo's a 5 under on the tournament. Tommy Fleetwood 5 under on the tournament through 4 holes today. He is even par. This leaderboard update brought to you by the Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop now at worldwidegolfshops.com. And starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. It's AutoZone.
Yeah. Welcome to your Friday, and happy Friday, everybody out there. Those who celebrate, at least. We're celebrating with a Bar Cart Friday here in studio with Chula Vista Brewery. And Tim Parker has walked through the door with a hand truck full of delicious beer selections. I'm staring at beautiful cans, all tall boys. This is going to be a show, Ben. I hope you're ready. Buckle up, buddy.
I like beer.
I like beer.
I like beer a lot.
By the way, Tim, when you came in with the hand truck, I was like, oh no, they're all going to be warm. All of these are ice cold.
Yeah, they cold.
These came right out of the refrigerator
Right.
and right into the studio. So I'm so excited. Thank you for making your way out here all the way from Chula Vista first thing in the morning.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah.
normally not up this early, but
Honestly, neither am I. I kind of feel like I just woke up.
All right, someone get him an energy drink. We need him to shotgun one.
We're gonna have Tim shotgunning a Bang Energy before we get into his beers, which I've now that I look at him, I believe I've had one of them. I was saying earlier, I may not have ever had a Chula Vista Brewery beer, but
We had Betos.
I may have. Yeah, I think I tried Beto's beer, which we'll get into in just a second. Before we talk to Tim and get the background on his story and beer and home brewing before he opened his own brewery, we got to do this. We do it every single Friday.
It's Friday, and if you ain't grilling, you ain't living. Let's do a little Friday tailgate trivia with Big Rich, TD, and Fletch.
Yeah, it is the game show that's sweeping all of San Diego. They love us in Chula Vista, let me tell you. They love us in Chula. This is your opportunity to win those Bryan Adams tickets we've been doing all week long. He's playing a show with Joan Jett on July 26th, Viejas Arena. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com, or potentially Alex could.
I'm doing good. Just driving in traffic right now.
Okay, so we're gonna save you a little bit of the hassle of being in traffic. We all understand how that feels, and also you may end up leaving with some tickets. You a Bryan Adams fan?
No, but my future mother-in-law is, so I think these would be good gifts for her.
Dude, this is okay. This is the best.
Pressure's on.
This is the best thing you can do for yourself. If there's one person in my life who I want to impress, it's my mother-in-law. Other than that, yeah, pretty much throw everything out the window. So this is a lot of pressure, Ben. You had it right.
You could make a weekend out of it. You should buy her a 4-pack from Chula Vista Brewing.
Yeah.
And then give her the tickets to Bryan Adams.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Alex, are you a fan of beer? Do you know beer? Do you think you know beer?
I used to consume a lot of beer. I'm actually sober. I have 6 years, 9 months, and 18 days sober today.
Look at you, man. Congratulations. He's got his button, 6 years sober. But anyways, you're going to be answering questions about beer to earn these Bryan Adams tickets. So ready or not, here they come. We'll start here with the first question. And Ben, if you want, you could ask some of these too. question number 1. The earliest evidence of brewing beer dates back to about 3,500, 2,900 BC. In which country? Is it A, Iraq, or B, Iran?
I want to say it's A, Iraq.
Wow. Right off the start. What's your mother-in-law's name?
Her name's Megan.
Megan is
She hates you right
she's
now.
going to be very disappointed in you, Alex. This is a big problem, buddy. He's in an 0-1 hole. Ben, save him. Give him the next question.
Question number 2 for you, Alex. The strongest beer in the world right now has an ABV, that's alcohol by volume, strength of, is it A, 100% or B, 67.5%?
Oh my God. I'm gonna go with 67.5%.
Wow. Yeah, it is B, and it's made by a Scottish brewery called Brewmeister. The beer is called Snake Venom.
A 67% beer doesn't sound good.
No. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like it's flammable, and I'm terrified.
Like that's more than like some of the whiskeys we've had in here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly true. Yeah. Like what is vodka? It hovers around 40%. Is
Maybe
that
a little
accurate?
more,
80
but yeah,
proof? Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Okay, let's move on to your third question. You're tied 1-1. Alex, here you go. China, the United States, and Germany and Russia, those 4 and this country are among the top 5 beer producing countries. Name the last country. Is it A, Brazil, or is it B, Cuba?
I want to say A, Brazil.
Wow. He is 2-1. We've got a game on our hands. Okay. Ben,
Mother-in-law Megan's about to be real happy if you can get one more.
this could be it.
You ready for this, Alex? What is the most common type of beer? Is it A, a lager, or B, an IPA?
I want to say A, lager.
Wow. Unbelievable, Alex. You just won yourself a pair of tickets to go see Bryan Adams with Joan Jett on July 26th. Viejas Arena. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. But you won them for your mother-in-law. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited is your future mother-in-law, Megan, going to be about getting these Bryan Adams tickets?
I would definitely say a 10 for sure.
This is awesome. We're glad that you could do it. You won them for her. You're a hero. Enjoy the traffic. We know you're not going to the show, but hopefully Megan enjoys those. Stay on the line. We'll get some information from you. Ben is going to take that down. And man, what a win on a Bar Car Friday. Good way to end the week. We've had a couple of winners. We've had a couple of losers also, you guys. So we're pretty excited about that. All right. Tim Parker, he's just walked through the door, like I said, with all this beer. Chula Vista Brewery. I'm looking at the array of cans in front of me. I see a lot of artwork, but the one that sticks out like a sore thumb is the Lucha Libre player, the luchador with the big fat guy wearing the mask. Is that Beto's beer?
Beto's, yeah.
Beto,
Yep.
Beto, our friend from iHeart San Diego here. So is this a popular seller?
It is a popular seller, especially in the South Bay area. It's pretty light, refreshing. It doesn't really fit a category because it's kind of a blonde ale as the base, but we put a hazy yeast in it. So it comes out hazy. You get that cucumber, citrus, and a little bit of salt.
That's
in there.
awesome.
So it's a great, easy day drinking beer.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like my mom calls them porch pounders, right?
Right.
You know, where you're like sitting down, you're on a rocking chair somewhere on like one of those porch swings, and you could just drink 7 or 8 of those and just enjoy the sunset. Should we start there? Should we try that? Is that
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready for a
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah. So Tim, first of all, you weren't always a brewer. You started out your life in the military.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was the role with the United States military?
So I did that. I joined the Navy in 99.
Yeah.
As a air crewman, search and rescue swimmer. So that does a lot of flying in the helicopters, jumping out of the helicopters. You do a little bit of surveillance with the radars and chasing submarines. So I got a little bit of both. So you try to chase submarines, and then you go and have to turn around and be a search and rescue swimmer at the same time.
Wait a second. So part of the job is, obviously getting an idea of what's under the water.
Correct.
And then part of the job is finding people who've been stranded in the water.
Right.
Now, the search and rescue, is it only for military members, or sometimes it's civilians? Sometimes you get called for other jobs?
Yeah, it could be anything.
Oh, wow.
Anybody that need help.
Fish
So,
boat, anybody.
fishing
Yeah.
boat, it could be hurricane relief. It could be anything.
Wow. First of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Unbelievably brave, the things that all men and women who are involved in the military do on a daily basis. I can't personally think of anything more terrifying than flying a helicopter into a storm and then diving into stormy weathers from said helicopter to save someone who's kicking and screaming and probably is trying to attempt to drown you to save their own life. So, Tim, what made you want to do that exactly?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I just said I was gonna go do this out of high school. I don't know what I was thinking. You really didn't know what I
Were
was
you a
getting
strong
into.
swimmer?
Yeah, I was actually a good swimmer. That could go into a long, funny story.
No,
But
we got time.
so when I was in boot camp, I didn't come in as a rescue swimmer. I came in just as an air crewman.
Yeah.
And in boot camp, they realized that I could swim very good, but it was the hard way. On the first day, you're supposed to go to the diving board and jump off the diving board into the water
Okay.
and swim to the side. Well, I'm from Chicago, but we had a pool in our projects.
Like a community pool in the middle of the project?
In the middle of the
Yeah,
project,
yeah.
yeah. So, so I didn't know black people didn't know how to swim, to be honest. So we had a diving board,
Yeah.
and we all thought we was Olympic divers, you know.
Dude, yeah, it's fun. Like
Right.
once you get over the initial
So-
fear.
Yeah. So here I am in boot camp, and they like, hey, go up there, jump off the diving board. Well, I didn't know they thought I was gonna be scared and not do it. They didn't give me any instructions. I went up there and did my best dive.
Yeah. Oh,
I
so
jumped off, did my flips.
you're doing like a 2.5 pike,
Yeah,
and
so-
you're hitting the water, and they're
Right.
like low
Very
splash.
little splash,
Yeah,
right?
the Russians give him a 9.7.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, I thought I thought I was gonna get a round of applause. Instead, I got a chewing.
Oh,
Yeah,
no way.
Oh, I got in trouble big time. That's not
no
the proper
way.
way of doing it.
For showing off,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I'm gonna turn
So-
my camera around so
Yeah.
people can see at home too.
Yeah. So they made me climb back up, go to the edge, put my feet together, cross my arms, jump off the diving board,
Oh, like
do it the
yeah.
proper way. And then I got out the water. They was like, hey, do you know why we chewing you out? I'm like, nah. It was like, well, you did a flip. You didn't. I'm like, all right, whatever. And so they asked me what was my job. I told them air crewman. They was like, well, you about to go do something else. I'm like, what is that something else? They was like, well, we're gonna send you search and rescue or something like that. I didn't know what that was. I just went over. They was like, you got to pick another rate. I'm still gonna be air crew, but I had to pick another rate. So I end up they really didn't give me a choice. It was like AW or AW. So I picked obviously AW, and that was search and rescue. And
So air crewmen typically, you're either servicing airplanes, right, or aircraft, or you're on the aircraft carrier. Is that the
so the air crewman just kind of identify you enlisted person that's flying in the aircraft.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You're not actually flying the aircraft. You're usually the person in the back of the aircraft. So for me, I was in charge of the radars, the acoustics, and any other equipment that was in the back.
Okay.
If certain air crewmen is just like load masters, so you got different air crewmen that do different things depending on what's your specific.
What is the training like when you do become search and rescue?
Right.
And they're trying to make sure that no matter the circumstance, because I'm sure the circumstances sometimes are harrowing, like that you're capable of handling the situation. Like you hear about, like, obviously the Navy SEALs BUDS training, but in order to swim in open water during a storm with huge, tides and the force of the open ocean, like, how do they train you for that?
Well, training is about, you got 2 years of training, but the first year is pretty much training for search and rescue,
Yeah.
and then the second year you're doing pretty much your primary. What is your primary job? And that's pretty much all classroom stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, but the training is long, and it's a lot of working out.
Yeah, water
yeah,
and
so
endurance and
basically the Navy would pay me to work out, get in shape.
yeah, you're still in good
Right.
shape, man. I don't.
So
You've
this,
been out for a little bit, right?
yeah, this is actually the heaviest I've ever been. So
Well,
Same here.
I
yeah,
never-
we're all in the same boat. We
Yeah.
just weighed in earlier in the week. Ben's tipping the scales at 279. I'm at 306, and our third leg of our show is on vacation right now. Was he 284?
284. Yeah.
284. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're talking to some big boys. You're looking to get a
I'm
little
not,
bit.
I'm not that big. I'm at 205, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
know we got some ways to meet you where you're at.
But Tim, was your first day in the helicopter jumping out of it? Did you rip like a double backflip or something?
Nah. No, I didn't.
Yeah, you doing the cross arm jump out like they told you.
Nah. You know, that's a funny story too. I was afraid of heights.
Oh,
So
Oh, perfect job for you.
So my first flight, I don't think I looked out the window. Yeah,
because you were actually
Afraid of heights,
like
yeah.
anxious about being in the helicopter.
yeah, I was just afraid of heights.
Oh my God.
So here I am. Got to jump out of that thing at some point.
And actually, that's a good question too. Like, so you're jumping out of aircraft for a living. How high above the water do you guys leap from?
Not that high actually. It's only about 10 to 15 feet on
Uh-huh.
average. If you got a bad pilot, it could be a lot higher. Which is too many bad pilots. But usually about 15.
Just picturing guys like like bumper cars in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the older you get, the lower you need it to be. So,
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah. So when I was young, I didn't care how high it was.
Yeah, you're like 30 feet. I could do that
Right.
standing on my head, no
I could
problem.
try to do a flip out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it was like, yo, my fins need to be touching the water before I jump. My body can't take this anymore.
How long did you do it for?
I did it for 20 years.
20 years, my gosh.
Yeah.
20 years. What's the scariest situation that you got into on a search and rescue?
It's really wasn't a search and rescue. I mean, your most scariest situations happen on normal days at normal times.
No kidding.
And it's funny. After that, like I had times where we had a dual engine failure.
Like during training?
It was during training. Well, we was actually what were we? Were we in the Gulf? No, I think we was right here off the coast. I'm trying to remember where I was at in the world because I had so many.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're in a
crazy-
helicopter over open water, I
Yeah.
mean, everything kind of looks the same a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So this one I'm pretty sure we was in the Gulf near Iraq,
Okay.
and it was kind of funny because we were doing around the clock flying at that time.
Yeah.
It was basically a 24-hour period. So you'll be flying for like 8 hours. You'll land, pretty much go to sleep. But in that time, you got a whole another crew bouncing
Oh, I
And-
got what
in
you're
a
saying.
24-hour pattern.
Yeah, yeah.
And I come out, and I was already late, but I don't know why. Like my body was just like not feeling it. And then we take off, and my body's still like, hey, I'm like, hey, we got to go back and land. I'm not feeling good.
Yeah.
So we come back and land. They PO because I'm stopping all flights.
What is PO? Oh, they're pissed off. Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
got
can
you.
cuss on this show?
Yeah,
All
oh
right.
yeah, a little
All right,
bit.
cool.
Yeah.
I've been trying to hold back a little bit.
No S, no F. Other
Right.
than that, you're kind of good to go.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So, I come back out. They all mad because I stop all operations. I
Yeah.
mean, all operations is dependent on because we kind of look forward and protect the whole battle group.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So when we not in the air, they lose that.
Surveillance.
You're right. So I come back out, and they just yelling at me like, and I'm like, man, I just don't feel good. We go to take back off, and right when we about to pull out from under the boat, both engines flame out, and we just crash land back into the boat. So whatever God was doing to me that day, it saved our lives because if we were still flying like we was normally, which at that time we was usually flying about 4,000 feet, we wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have survived.
So this engine failure could have happened like while you were still in the air,
Right,
and because you were close to ground right after takeoff, it's what saved
right.
this whole crew's life.
But it was because I was not feeling good
Right.
that we was back over the boat.
Now, was it a flu or is it just like you felt?
It
like
was just that moment. As soon
Yeah.
as after that, I
Yeah.
was fine.
no way.
Nothing was wrong with me after that.
So it was divine intervention.
Right.
It was something telling you don't go up.
Dude, I
Exactly.
just got like the big time shivers on the back of my neck.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense though, after living this life that you lived, that you needed a hobby like beer making. Honestly,
Yeah.
like something that just it sort of takes you away from all that. It's chemistry, it's very involved. Obviously, there's a lot of science behind it. And it's obviously something that you then reap the rewards of being able to drink. Like it cools the nerves doing it, and then it cools the nerves enjoying it.
Exactly. It's just fun making beer,
Yeah.
It is a science. It's also almost the same as cooking. You got to get your recipe right.
Yeah.
And then it's fun. It's you get to taste your product at the end.
This is really cool.
You pray that it's good.
Yeah.
I'm usually not a big cucumber guy, but this one, it's kind of subtle almost, and it is refreshing, and it is a porch pounder. But how do you go from jumping out of helicopters or telling your pilot not to take off because you got a queasy stomach, and then you save everyone's life, to now owning and operating a brewery?
That was actually just kind of, I knew I wanted to retire at 20 years.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give them a day over 20.
No, I get you.
So, I kind of started looking for what I wanted to do in life. I noticed a lot of my friends that was retiring, they was coming right back to do the same thing as a civilian, and
Oh, okay,
sometimes
yeah.
deploying more than what I was. So I didn't want to do that. So I was trying to figure out what I want to do, and I figured I'd follow my hobby and love beer. So
Chase your passion.
yeah, exactly. So and there was no breweries at the time in Chula Vista. You had one, Bay Bridge, but I didn't even know they was there because they was more doing it more of as a hobby thing.
Yeah.
They wasn't really taking it like seriously. They wasn't trying to win no competitions. They wasn't trying to put out a bunch of advertisement. They were just it was a hobby for them. Rich hobby, but it
Oh
was a
yeah,
hobby,
yeah. Expensive hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But this is good stuff. So we're trying the Chula Vista Brewery. Tim Parker, the owner, operator, brewmaster over there at Chula Vista. The Pepino Perez. This is Beto Perez's beer. Huge in the South Bay and delicious. I mean, you could taste the cucumber. It's the blonde ale, right? And you said you're not a huge fan of blonde ales.
I'm not a huge fan of blonde ale.
I like all beer. I can't turn down a beer if it's offered to me. So
no.
I've grown a taste to. It doesn't matter good or bad beer. I can probably tell the difference between a good or bad beer, skunk beer. But it could be a stout, it could be a porter, all the way down to the lightest ale you could possibly hand me. I'm drinking it all.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still a sailor at heart.
Yeah.
let's not forget that.
Yeah.
So, right.
You'll say cheers with whatever's available.
I had times where I was in the middle of Dubai in the sandbox.
Yeah.
I mean, we drinking hot Bud Light in the middle of the desert, like it was just fresh water. So don't get me wrong, I could drink anything. But I will prefer a lot more flavor in my beer. The plain.
What's your favorite of this lineup? Because we're looking at this Operation Overlord Pilsner as well. Is this
badass can,
dude? Yeah.
That actually is one of my favorites.
Oh, cool.
And then I would say behind that is the Cella IPA.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But actually, my favorite beer is we make a raspberry wheat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But that's only in house, and that's pretty much you make it for me.
So that one's only available if you actually go for like a brewery tour, or go to the restaurant over there.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right, listen. You are a fascinating human being, and this has been a lot of fun already. We want to try all these beers. We're not done, not by a stretch. Tim Parker in studio with us this morning for our Bar Cart Friday, brought to you by Keg and Bottle. It's Chula Vista Brewery. We've only tasted one of these. We got miles to go, Ben. Are you ready?
Can't wait, man.
Okay.
But in order to go miles, you kind of need to be able to walk.
That's a good point. And you got to walk on your feet. And I want to talk to everyone about their feet. The Good Feet store is offering arch supports for everyone out there who's got a little hip pain, maybe a little back pain, knee pain, ankle pain. They have these personally fit arch supports, and you can find out for yourself. Free, no risk, no obligation, fitting and test walk. And here's what Good Feet store is offering. For a limited time, they're going to let you walk away with premium shoes with a qualified purchase. That's a $140 value. Also, they stand by their products. Every single one of these arch supports has a lifetime guarantee. You don't like them, bring them in, tell them why. They'll get you the pair that matches your feet. Free test walk. We already talked about that. You got to get to a good feet store. We all did this on the show. Everybody wears the arch supports. Everybody raves about them. The Good Feet store. You can find a location at goodfeet.com. And coming up next, it's a Bar Cart Friday brought to you by Keg and Bottle, Chula Vista Brewery. We get to sample all these beers on the other side. Stay with us.
More with Chula Vista Brewing coming up next on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. It's a Bar Cart Friday presented by Keg and Bottle. This update is presented by AutoZone. Padres cannot secure the sweep in Toronto. They lose yesterday 4-0 on getaway day. Padres now taking on the Tigers for the next 3 games. They'll be in Detroit before heading back home. Team USA starts their title defense in the Women's World Cup starting today when they take on Vietnam at 6 o'clock. If you're looking for a place to watch both those games, make sure to head over to Fair Play in North Park. The Darren Smith Show will be there broadcasting live from noon to 3, John and Jim from 3 to 6. Over in the NFL, the sale of the Washington Commanders, it's official. Dan Snyder making his way out. Josh Harris making his way in. It was a $6.05 billion purchase. Dan Snyder fined $60 million by the NFL after their investigation into the workplace of the Washington Commanders and formerly the Washington Redskins. The 151st Open at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club in the United Kingdom. Day 2 is underway. American Brian Harman in the lead. He's at 10 under par. That's 5 strokes better than anybody else for the tournament so far. He's finished up for the day already in the clubhouse. Jordan Spieth making a little bit of a run here on the front 9. 3 under on the day so far after shooting a 69 yesterday. He's 5 under on the tournament. Tommy Fleetwood, the Englishman, he is 5 under as well. And then there's a big old group at 3 under, 2 under, and 1 under, including Rory McIlroy, who's 1 under par the last time the tournament was at the Royal Liverpool Golf Club. Rory McIlroy was the winner. This Open Championship brought to you by the Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. You can shop now at worldwidegolfshops.com. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. So get in the zone. It's AutoZone.
Thank God it's Friday! It's been a long week and the fellas are thirsty. It's time to cruise into the weekend. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch present Bar Card Friday. Brought to you by Keg and Bottle.
It is a Bar Card Friday on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. We're waiting on Rich to get back from the bathroom, but stepping in for him, no one better. We got producer Shelly in the house today. Shelly, what's going on?
Dude, what's going on? I'm just kind of hanging out, Fletch. My crew is out for the day, quote unquote.
You don't need them.
Nah, they don't need me. Yeah, no.
So you're
right.
deciding to come on over and
So I decided, sweet, I finally get to come over here and enjoy myself and hang out with Tim from Chula Vista Brewery, you know? Yeah.
It's been awesome getting to know you, Tim. Your story's incredible. But now we're moving on to the Operation Overlord Pilsner, which has one of the sickest cans I've ever seen. Do you do a lot of the graphic design work, or do you hire out?
I hire out. I can't take credit for this artwork. My artwork looked like a 2-year-old, drawing.
Stick figures.
Right. It's Picasso at best. Yeah, but this is probably one of my favorites. It was brewed with Donnie Edwards. Every time we brew this, Donnie comes out for it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he comes out.
Donnie Edwards, former Chargers
Chargers.
linebacker, went to UCLA, went to Chula High. We were just talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
former Chargers, but we're going to focus on when he played for KC.
Chiefs, yeah, he was with the Chiefs. He got drafted by the Chiefs.
Right. So I always like to talk trash to him. But yeah, so Donnie is just a good person, and he loved to give back to the military. So that obviously that fits right in my category. So when Donnie first came to me, and he pretty much came up with the idea and the concept of it all. I got another can that we call Warplane that I got some imagery like this, but it was just kind of taking different images.
Yeah.
So we kind of based it off that, and that's where this one came up with. But it's a nice Pilsner. Every dollar that's made off this beer, we try to donate it back to Donnie.
Oh,
And
nice.
then we also, but the biggest
Oh, I
thing, we
love
try
that
to bring
sound.
awareness to Donnie Edwards
Sexy.
and his foundation, the Best Decent Foundation, and give back to the veterans. And he flying back, to give them closure. So if you go to his website, Best Decent Foundation, you see when he takes World War II veterans back to Germany, Italy,
Oh, wow.
Hawaii for Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
and some of these people, that's the first time they've been back.
Oh, since
Right.
the attack on Pearl Harbor,
Exactly.
since
So,
they
man.
Yeah.
made football in Italy or Germany.
Exactly. And then you see some of them go to the grave sites of people, that they lost during the war. And they get that final closure, before they, call it quits.
Yeah.
And so it's just the work that he does is amazing. So this can is probably, near and dear to me. So
Best Defense Foundation, look it up. A lot of great work, it sounds like Donnie Edwards doing. And Operation Overlord Pilsner is what we're trying from Chula Vista Brewery right now. And I got to tell you, if I enjoyed even half as much as I enjoyed Beto's, which listen, is it for a great cause? I don't know. It's delicious, though.
This
But
is like tasty it's going to be a hot weekend. You put this on some ice and get it nice, icy and cold. This is
Yeah.
like a good little,
it's a hoppy Pilsner. So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
So
can
it-
taste the hops, like a little tiny tinge of bitterness
yeah.
on the back end.
So a little bit more hops than a typical Pilsner, but we in San Diego and we We
We like our
hops,
hops.
right?
Yeah. Dude,
Anytime you put hop in front of anything, we're like, okay, don't mind if I do.
this is one of the most crushable drinks I've ever had in my life. That's incredible. That's delicious.
Now,
and,
It's
and
like
again, for a
like
good
backyard
cause.
patio drinking. I don't know that I necessarily drink it on the golf course per se,
Oh, you
but
definitely
would.
could drink that
Oh,
on the
yeah.
golf
I will
course.
drink that. I will drink
Is
that anywhere.
5.5% higher than the normal Pilsner?
A little bit, typically around 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah. Like lagers and pilsners are kind of around the same thing, right?
Yep.
4.5 to 5.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just handed to us is something called the Garita Light Blonde Ale.
Gordita? Yep. You said I give you
Huh.
as a white guy, give you that one.
Okay.
I can't roll
fine.
my R's for anything, so I think he did pretty
No,
good.
yeah, listen, I've
You
spent some
stupid
time
gringo.
south of the border.
Right.
No big deal. You know,
Yeah.
some
So
people call me Richard the Coyote
yeah.
Hornberger.
So
Oh, is
that
that true?
Yeah,
How'd you? Yeah.
Yeah. I've spent time. No big deal.
it was in prison, but he spent some
Yeah,
time.
Where did you spend time, and what exactly got you there?
Cancun.
Okay,
It was all inclusive. It was a hard time.
dude.
It was a hot summer. Anyways, getting back to the beer.
All right. So what-
Garita.
yeah. So that's actually our number one selling beer. It's one of the first beers we made. Blondel. What Etha actually means. Blonde. Basically, what you call a blonde girl.
Did your wife help you name that one?
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't speak Spanish. So we kind of run two different brands. We run like her brand, which
Mhm.
is all the Spanish stuff,
Right.
and then you got mine, which is all the military stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see cans with the military art, and then you see cans with the Mexican art.
Right.
Um,
Which is so San Diego.
yeah.
Damn,
so-
that's good.
Oh my God, this is so good.
Exactly.
This is
So
gonna sound a little crazy with this one. I before you describe it, like I'm probably crazy. I almost taste like coffee. Like there's almost, you know what I mean? Like there's almost like a subtle. Maybe it's because I drank coffee this morning.
No, I almost taste like tortilla chips.
Hang on. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I'm broken.
You might be.
I think I'm. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I think so. Because I'm with you with the tortilla chips.
and a
Like,
very
it
lost
makes
man.
you want chips and salsa.
It
You
really
want,
does.
yeah.
Or guac.
Oh my God, guacamole. John Fink just walked in here. That guy knows his way around an avocado.
The tallest human being I've ever seen.
Yeah, this man is a vegan. We've covered this many times. He's 6'10". I mean, it has to be gallons and gallons of guacamole that you've eaten over your life.
That is true. Well, I mean, I have one of those scales that has the, calorie requirements to maintain your weight.
Oh wow, yeah.
I need 6,800 calories a day to maintain my weight.
No way.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Jesus. And he's having no
I'm so happy
problems
that you
there.
said how tall he is because I've always wanted to ask him in the break room, but feel like that's the most obvious question to ask this
I
guy.
did.
9.5
You can
feet.
ask me, it's fine.
Yeah, we ask him all sorts of stuff. Is this I'm not going to choose favorites, but this is like I mean every can you open I'm like, "Oh no, now this is my new favorite. This might be my new favorite."
yeah, that's the most popular one. So we found out very quick. Chula Vista is the only area in San Diego that don't want to drink IPAs all day.
Hmm.
Interesting. It's probably
That's
because
how
it's
that's
too hot.
yeah, and they party longer that way.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
good point too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Ain't no
so
party
we
like a
had
Chula
to,
Vista party.
right.
'Cause the
Don't
Chula Vista
stop.
party don't stop.
No, sir.
Yeah, so we had to get the people what they want. They want light beers that they could drink all day.
Nice.
And so we came up with that one, and people fell in love with it, and there
It's
it
a
goes.
good one.
Man. All right. So far we've tried Beto Pepino Perez from Chula Vista Brewery. We tried Operation Overlord Pilsner. And this, by the way, it's paired up with Best Defense Foundation, the Donnie Edwards Foundation, former Charger, former Chief, former Chula Vista High standout, and great foundation attached to that. He's bringing veterans back to where they fought for this country so they could have a little closure. So get you some Operation Overlord Pilsner. You're going to be supporting a great cause there. And then this Garita Light Blonde Ale, which specifically when you said golf course
I
beer,
was gonna say that's the one that I would take with
I mean,
me.
fill my bag up with
Yeah.
this. I will leave with an empty bag and I'll need a ride.
Dear
All
golf course, I know you said no outside beverages, but too bad.
right. Sorry. This is really good stuff. What else do you got? I see that there's a black can. This one's a little bit more intimidating. This is the Is this called pronounced Chela?
Correct, Chela.
Chela, West Coast IPA.
Yeah. So, in Mexico, the X is the CH sound.
Yeah.
So Chela is actually a slang word for beer down in Mexico.
Oh wow.
So,
Well, I knew that.
all right.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
coyote.
Like I spent some- They call me the coyote. Did we cover that?
It happened in Cancun.
yeah, but this one's actually one of my favorites. So, as I'm getting older, I don't want an IPA above 7 anymore.
Oh, so what is this
We,
one at?
we
Is it
brought
like a
this
good
one down
6'8"?
to 6'8",
There
right?
you go.
Just
That makes
6'8".
you feel better as an
Right.
adult. You're like,
Literally,
oh,
I
it's a
feel
6'8". It's
right.
fine. When I don't need a 7'4".
I don't have a
whatever.
problem. It's
Yeah.
Right.
it's under 7 IPA. This is actually I moved to San Diego. I act like I'm not a beer snob, but I couldn't drink IPAs for the longest time. And then living here, it's like impossible.
You have
Yeah,
no choice.
you have-
It's the law. It's literally, I do think it's a law now.
I think one of my favorite things about your can that I also really appreciate is that you put the 91914 on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to let people know what zip code we in,
Oh wow!
and
you know,
then you got to definitely check out the artwork on this can. So
it's got like the Aztecs imagery on it.
exactly.
Oh, this is amazing, dude. You know what I recognized it from?
Looks like the helmet.
Yeah, the helmet from San Diego State. You know how like in the background of the
Ooh.
red,
Yeah.
you can see like all the Aztec symbology. It's really, really cool. Dude, you've done such a good job with the cans. I mean, no kidding. Like a lot of people, the way they choose things is they like choose things based on what the label looks like if they're picking wines or liquor bottles. Like, sometimes it's like the shape of the bottle sells it. I mean, the cans for beer, if I'm introducing myself to a new brewery, sometimes I just look at the can. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's cool. They invested time on the outside. Hopefully they did the same thing on the inside.
And yeah, it's nice to have a can that's like known for it too, because you have like McKellar, the brewery here, has really interesting artwork on their cans as well. So the fact that it's definitely so dialed in with your guys' brewery is
Thank
awesome.
Dude, this is delicious.
Yeah.
This is a Friday afternoon get off of work beer.
Exactly.
Oh wait, or just hang out on a bar cart Friday
Yeah,
beer.
Friday morning's
whichever.
fine.
Big
Yeah,
deal.
sorry, my first time across the hall for this, guys. My bad.
This is really well balanced. Well done, sir. This is awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't kick you like some IPAs do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of smooth.
Mhm.
Got a Galaxy hop in there.
It's
which is
called a
pretty-
Galaxy Hop?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very popular, expensive hop, but I call it a cheater hop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives you so many different great flavors. It give you that citrusy pineapple sometimes. Different hops, even the same hop could give you different flavors depending on your palate sometimes. But Galaxy is one of those ones that give you just great flavors.
This is
Um,
incredible.
Hey,
It's
Tim, what do you
just
guys got going on this weekend at Chula Vista Brewery? 'Cause I know every Sunday you guys do something, right?
Right, every Sunday we got mariachi, so it comes out to the Third Ave Brewery. We got Beto actually playing tonight.
Oh, he
That's-
is?
Yeah, he gonna play from 7 to 10. He'll be at the brewery.
Does he do that every week?
We do that every week.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet.
Every week. So
I always
every week
see
we
that
got
on
some
the
type
on
of
his
entertainment,
Instagram, and
yeah.
it looks like an absolute blast.
Yeah, we followed Beto on the gram, and now we're going to follow Chula Vista Brewery on the gram as well. Producer Shelly in from 941. Sorry, 941. We also got Tim Parker from Chula Vista Brewery in house. Kim just walked in from sale. John Fink in the studio.
Dominic Giamacarena.
Dominic Gia.
He's literally Dom Gio in my phone. I don't even try.
We loved him when he played for the Dolphins. We love him better here at iHeart. More coming up next. We'll close out this Bar Cart Friday. It's Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. Thanks for turning my mic off. We're back on a Bar Cart Friday. The studio is filling up here. Aaron Bauman from Sales, Kim in, John Fink from Kogo News, Shelly Brown, producer from Star 94.1.
Wow, sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it.
Honestly, don't you have some WD-40 or something for this?
I do.
Come
you think
on.
this is a professional operation?
No, actually, when I run into you guys, I'm reminded it's
we are
not.
barely keeping it together.
You guys used to
Shelly,
be-
that sounded like an insult.
No, it's not an insult.
And you're in
Actually,
our house.
I know you're right, and you guys bring the spirit into the building, obviously, and booze
Putting
and
your feet up
spirits.
on the furniture.
I'm not
Speaking of
putting-
feet,
I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, speaking of feet, I want to talk to you about the Good Feet store. No, I'm kidding.
Wait, seriously? Can we?
No, I've been talking about get some art support.
We'll talk about it after the show.
My knees, my hips, my back are feeling good. Kathy
Welcome to
just
the
walked in.
40s.
I mean, we have the crew in today. Tim Parker, though, is leading the charge with Chula Vista Brewery, and we are having a Bar Cart Friday. This is my kind of Bar Cart Friday because we're talking beer.
Mhm.
You make great beer, Tim.
Thank you.
I mean, I know you were probably a great swimmer, and search and rescue was your thing for 20 years in the military.
backflipping, he's really good at that.
He's
That's where the shoulders came from.
He's a high diver.
Nice.
I definitely don't think I can still backflip.
Are you sure?
We should try.
Come on.
It'll be a one-time deal.
Okay, let's get you on a 1 minute diving board real quick.
My next backflip is my last backflip. Tim Parker, who, he served 20 years for the United States in the military, turned into a master brew maker, owns Chula Vista Brewery, and he's in studio this morning sharing his beers with us. So far, we've tried the Pepino Perez, which is a cucumber blonde ale, the Garrita, the light blonde ale, which is absolutely crushable, the Operation Overlord Pilsner, which has the best defense foundation
And it's
attached.
a hoppy pills, too. Keep that in mind.
It's got
It's
little
really good.
hops on the back end. I like that. And then, of course, the Cella we just tried, the West Coast IPA. It's an under 7 ABV IPA, super drinkable. And we're moving on now to a double IPA.
Wait, and there's a story behind this one. So Tim, explain, because there's not too many of these cans left, right?
Right. So we brew that once a year. It's Breakers Beach. For those who don't know, Breakers Beach is a real beach in San Diego, located on the base.
My friends got married there.
Oh, nice. It is a nice view too.
Mm-hmm.
So only military knows about that base.
Are we allowed to shotgun this beer? Is that
Yeah, I mean, you can
Okay.
go for it.
Lord.
I mean,
You're
no.
going to
You're
shotgun
good.
a double IPA. You're
Get the camera
an
back
animal,
up. Get the
Ornberger.
camera close.
Sorry.
we haven't done it
There
yet.
we go. Okay.
We're gonna get time because it is a Bar Cart Friday.
Rich, before you do it, turn your camera back on you.
Oh, back on it. Hang on a second.
Oh, that camera.
Sorry, Tim.
I don't know. Dang, you guys how did you guys get all this equipment?
All right, listen,
Oh,
I
we
don't want to
paid
talk
for it.
about it, okay?
Oh, got it. Okay.
There's a lot of things that we
It
do
was
that
while he was in Mexico.
it's like
Well,
yeah.
that's how you earned that money, huh?
Yeah, well, and also the nickname, the Coyote.
Don't worry, you're not spilling it all, bro.
No,
You're
no, a
good.
lot of people know me by that nickname. Don't. I mean,
Was
that's
that like
We're all
really Cancun or the locker room?
it's people get really confused about exactly where my my Mexican experience and most of my language comes from. I don't like to talk about it. It was a different time in my life. You know, I'm really struggling with this. Hang on.
This is why the microphone arms squeak, by the way.
Yeah, there's so much
Sprays
beer.
everywhere. Yeah, it sprays everywhere.
We're gonna try to break a world record here. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh
my
gosh!
That was delicious.
That was 16 ounces of a
That's
double
crazy.
IPA. That is
the dome.
8.3%.
I'm gonna say this. I don't know if double IPAs are supposed to be shotgunned.
Typically not.
Highly recommend. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. I don't feel great.
You're gonna have to breathe through that one, dude.
Yeah, that one.
It'll catch up with you later.
That's feel. You know what? Honestly, from what I did taste, delicious. So walk us through us. How did you make that one?
It's just kind of me kind of giving back to my military heritage. You know, I spent pretty much my whole Navy career on North Island and on that beach. So, and the artwork was done by another Navy rescue swimmer. The idea came up from a guy, he's still active duty right now, Master Chief Behringer over on North Island right now. And he came up with the idea, and I was like, all right, well, let's make a recipe, get it together. It just came out awesome. So we just do it once a year, kind of just for us military guys.
Well,
And the
now,
artwork is what we see on North Island. So you got the
Yeah.
helicopters and stuff flying over. it's like what you would see if you was on that base and you see the helicopters coming off. And
Yeah.
I feel like I've just been introduced to a very exclusive. It's all the military guys and Rich the Coyote Hornberger.
Shut up.
I feel like I'm just one of the search and rescue. Jump out of a chopper later. We're gonna save some folks right off of Coronado Bay. This is the best. Tim, you're the best. Really appreciate
right.
your time today. Thank you.
Thank
Chula
you.
Vista Brewery is who came in house on a Bar Car Friday, brought to you by Keg and Bottle. This was insane. This was amazing. Ben, who do we thank?
Producer Shelly, thank you for
thanks,
coming in,
guys. Thanks for
helping out.
having me. Thanks for letting me crash the party.
John Fink, you're the man.
There we go. I'll
Andres
switch
from
foot
Keg
10
and Bottle.
Thank
Tim from Chula Vista Brewery. Awesome stuff. Also, Brady Quinn was in the first hour of the show. Brian
There
Posey.
it is.
Just puke.
No,
No.
Thank you,
everything's
Rich.
fine.
Travis back on Monday.
Okay, Kathy, Kim, Aaron, thank you for jumping in. Andreas, thank you for helping out. Colin Coward and the Herds coming up next. It's a Bar Car Friday. We'll do it again next week.
Hey.